What up, Doe? One Pride. This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, a podcast where one pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, it is the college football podcast, The Bare Necessities. This is our Week 8 review, and Ryan, what a weekend we had. We had Holy War, we had the dual Shillelagh, we had 5 all top 25 ranked fixtures, 9 ranked teams lost this week, 4 more escaped by the hairs of their chinny chin chin in some of the funniest and most controversial ways possible. Only 7 ranked teams who were not playing ranked opposition had decent wins this week. Week 8 just threw a complete spanner into everybody's works in regards to the playoffs.
Yeah. We're fully in that scenario now where it's totally wide open for anybody. Teams are quickly thrusting themselves into the conversation. There's a lot that thought good about their chances, but in the last week or two, a lot of they're starting to slip up, and like I say, some conferences now are getting pretty tasty.
Absolutely, and we're going to take a look at the conference standing stakes. We're kind of like 3-4 games into the conferences now, kind of at the halfway point. So we're going to take a look at which teams are going under the radar. Because I was looking at some of these conferences earlier and I'm thinking, what on earth are these teams doing where they are? There are some unbeaten teams in conference who you have no idea are there at this moment in time. So we're going to take a look through the standings when we've done the review and just give an insight into that. Maybe take a look at some players that have taken our fancy this year as well. So we have an awful lot to cover today. So let's just get all the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Roar of the Lions UK Discord, you want in, let us know. We'll send you a link for it. Main podcast was Monday, yesterday, I can't remember. We were reviewing the Lions' Monday night win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so they're going 5-2 into the bye. So if you've not checked that out, go and check Matt and Ash's review of that one there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything, Twitch, YouTube, all that good sort of stuff. We've just gone over 2,000 on YouTube, so thank you to every single one of you who follows us. You know what we appreciate the hell out of you. We're part of Lions Nation Unite as well, so don't forget to like that, and we're monetized and all that good stuff. If you want to help us that way, great. If not, we just love having you all in the building, and there are a few of you in the building early doors today. I see Mile Marker in there, Lisa De Lorenzo, Brent DeWitt, Grandizer's in there as well. I hope you're all doing really well. Mile Marker goes maroon and gold, absolutely. One of the teams that shocked a ranked opposition at the weekend. There were a lot of them. He goes, the emoji should be gopher, but only got a chipmunk. About the same level of natural ferocity. Indeed, they are. But yeah, as always, you got anything you want to talk about, chat about, ask questions for us this evening, please do it as we go along. Right, let's get into some news first. We're going to get through the news quick because we've got a lot of stuff to talk about this evening. Early NFL draft news, potential in terms of injuries here affecting what might go on, but unfortunately, Rye, one of the front runners for centre one in next year's 2026 NFL draft has sustained a serious injury, and that is Connor Lew, the Auburn centre. He's only a junior this year. He's started there basically since day one, got the starting job in his first year. He's been one of the best, most consistent centres in college. Not had the greatest year this year so far, but this whole Auburn team's been suffering. But, given the strength and depth of this class, there is a good chance he may have gone. But he's now torn his ACL, which more than likely is going to mean him returning for senior year next year, and we might have to wait. So, potentially an early blow to next year's centre class in the draft.
Yeah, a guy that most of us would consider nailed on, like say 1A, 1B with Slaughter, like say a plug-and-play guy. Pretty much locked for me to be a first-round pick, or at least fall just outside. But now, like I say, a big decision to make. It's going to be very interesting to see if he does decide to return for his year or not, and try, like I say, he'd slide a couple of rounds this year if he's not ready to go as a rookie in the NFL. But he potentially might just decide, like I say, if he's only going to lose a round, maybe a round and a half, maybe it's not worth staying for another year. But yeah, definitely a big loss for them. Crazy for Auburn as well, because I read as well that their replacement centre is the youngest player in all of college football, who only turned 17 last April. So
Yeah.
he will be the youngest player in, like say, the whole of the FBS is now their new freshman starting centre to see out the year, which should be interesting to see how that goes for him.
Yeah, if you are already looking forward to the 2028 and 2029 NFL drafts, then there's a name for you to keep on your boards. Hang on, let me just remember. Oh god, I can't remember the kid's name. But like you say, he is 17 years old. Oh Lord, what is his name again? Well, I'll come back to it later.
Oh, here we go. It's Hale Ellis, freshman 6'4". He was turned 17 on April 29th,
So,
makes him the youngest player in the entire FBS.
so for he is literally 17 and a half then. The youngest
Yeah.
player in the FBS going. So
He's
yeah,
that type to have 6 games at centre in the SEC.
oh my! And you're coming up against some of them SEC defensive tackles. Sorry, I think Auburn's next game is Arkansas, so maybe one to ease your way into. But yeah, gonna be a big test of endurance for the young 17-year-old. But hey, have 3 good years, you can come to the NFL at barely 20 years old as a centre. Who knows? You may make your money there. Right, moving on. My marker goes, holy cow, 17 years old. Yes, 17 and a half. He's not even close to 18. He will be still 17 at the end of this year. So, yeah, mental. Head coaches. Me and Ryan had a little bet last week as to potentially how many head coaches were going to be fired this weekend just gone, because we thought a lot of teams might pull the trigger on that. I had 4. Ryan had 6. We were both wrong, and I feel like we pulled just a week too early, because I feel like this weekend coming is the one where they're going to happen. There are some guys in jobs, I have no idea how they're still there, but we lost 2 this weekend just gone, and another was a pretty big one on the heels of James Franklin making way at Penn State last week. Another big name has gone, one we more than expected at this point. Billy Napier has been fired by the Florida Gators. It is his 4th season he's been there. He has a 22-23 record. He is 12-16 in the SEC. He has no winning SEC record in his time with the Gators. I mean, last year threatened to maybe be the improvement they'd finally been looking for. They won their last 4, including back-to-back wins over ranked LSU and Ole Miss. They wrecked Ole Miss this season after they'd had a hell of a start, and they got their only bowl win under him in the Gasparilla Bowl last year, but it never really translated to him this year. The second game this year, a home loss to USF, South Florida. Alex Golesh and his Bulls kind of broke that team, and they've not really been able to recover from that, even though this weekend they did get a win over Mississippi State, but it was 23-21. It was not pretty in the slightest. And Miss State have been a horrible team for some time now, and it was not enough to save his job. He is going to be owed $20.4 million. It is the 4th largest ever buyout, although I feel like that's probably going to go down the pecking order by the time this season is done. 50% of it is up front, so they're on the hook for $10.2 million immediately, and then another $10 million over the next couple of seasons. Front runners to replace him in the job so far: the aforementioned Alex Golesh down at USF. He's got those Bulls rolling. They're one of the few teams in the country who, in fact, they are defeated. No, they're undefeated. Yes, they are defeated. They've only lost 1 this year to Miami, but they've taken down multiple Power 5 teams. He has transformed that program entirely, and of course, he's in the locale, so he is the front runner at the moment. But the second front runner for this job is no other than Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss. Obviously, the money men thinking they might be able to poach him from the Rebs. But before we talk about the replacements, Rye first, it just never worked for Billy Napier at Florida. Massive expectations coming in for him after the job he did down at Louisiana. Bought a good chunk of his players with him, hoping it might be able to translate, bring some of that winning pedigree with him. But they had their stops, they had the starts, they had the odd big win here and there to maybe keep bringing in a false dawn for them. But at the end of the day, the consistency never came with a team which is chock full of young talent and probably should be doing better.
Yeah, it's one of those where these kind of like statement kind of upset wins don't really tip the favour back on his balance. As you say, a team that last year we saw flashes, and I think it's the lack of visible growth during the off season. Like I say, me and you, man, we were hard on the Florida train this year, and it derailed pretty quickly. A lot of big time nationalists were like, bloody hell, this like true sophomore class they've got. Right, he's one of the best in the country. Adding these young freshmen, like they're going to compete straight away. But no, like I said, they blow hot, they blow cold. You see no real growth right now in DJ Lagway's play, and that's on him, but that's also on coaching. Because like I said, they've not got him in a position where he looks more comfortable. He's still making big time errors and big time games right now. And yeah, win or loss, if it had blown out the team this weekend or not, it still won't have saved him. I think like it felt like AD's minds were made up when the fans decided to turn on him. And as a vacancy, like it's just such an exciting vacancy. You've now got Malachi Tony, like I say, you've now got one of the best players in the country. Right, so you've got talent all over the place. Like I say, you've got a stud freshman corner. Right, you've got so many guys there.
Yeah, it's, Jaden Bowes there, still relatively young. Your defensive line is full of studs. Tyreek Sapp's he might come to the draft, but you've got a lot of great players there. So yeah, it will. I think it will be very enticing.
I meant, and then you've got Sturdivant. Like, so you've got Dallas Wilson.
Yeah, it's Dallas Wilson. Yeah. I was thinking there.
Freshman,
But no, you're right.
Yeah, I think this is such an exciting potential thing for him. I just wonder, like I say, the head coach, I could see DJ Lagway being replaced. I think someone might bring their own guy and plug him into an offense.
Well, he said today, DJ Lagway, that he's committed to the program. So he does obviously want to stay there if the new guy wants him.
Is he the best man right now? I don't know.
I know.
Putting him in places to win right now, is it?
I know. Quickly, Lisa, yes, James Franklin did get fired last week. He is out of a job now. I mean, potentially, they might look at him with his SEC ties and that. Maybe Franklin got fired. But obviously, the two frontrunners at the minute, two vastly different candidates. Alex Golesh, obviously, they've just been down the route of hiring a wildly successful group of 5 head coach, and it's not worked. But they have also gone down the big name route as well, and it's not worked either. Obviously, Kiffin is notorious for... They're a higher standard in the SEC than Florida, but they're still not breaking the glass ceiling. He has just the same problem. He can't win big games. He might just elevate you a bit, but can he bring you to the top is the problem with him. But I don't know. Which way do you reckon, in theory, if it was these two, which way would you go with them? Would you go with Golesh, who's been wildly successful at a small program, knows the area, recruits there, probably brings some of his good players with him as well? Or would you go for Kiffin if the money would tempt him?
I don't know. I feel like Kiffin is the fancy hire. Like you say, he will get the most media attention. Like you say, he'll maybe even bring some players with him. I just think about the circus and like that right now. Is that what you need? Like you say, for one, I don't think it'll happen. I think he'll get a big pay rise from Ole Miss. If it's any way the Rebels let him go, I think they'll just open the blank check. But
yeah,
I think they'll push hard for him. I'm more for giving some guys a chance right now. Like I say, whether that's Clark Lee, whether that's that's Alex Golesh, whether that's John Sumrall, where it's someone like that, I'd probably go with a guy that is, he's built up his CV. He's done good work at smaller programs, and now give him the chance to make an impact at a big program.
Yeah, I would. Recruiting's no issue there. You can get 5-star guys here. You can recruit guys to a big program. So, I would like Golesh to get it if possible.
I'd hate if it goes for someone like Nick Saban.
Yeah,
I'd hate to see like some dinosaur come in.
I would love to see Golesh win the American this year and then move to Florida afterwards and earn his way up, because I think he would be a bit different.
I think if he does that, I think Byron Brown returns for his senior year, and I think he transfers to Florida.
Yeah, and they move Byron Brown.
I genuinely could see him starting Byron Brown over Shillelagh.
And he's got lots of young talent in that South Florida region as well, so we can bring them with him. And they're not all uprooting. They're not all uprooting. They're in the same state nearby. You're not moving an entire team across the country with you. Lisa says the thing about college head coaches is they can always do well if they recruit players. So unless they're bringing their best players with them, they may not do well. I mean, look at Signetti. Signetti took all his James Madison team with him, and look how well they've done. Perfect. They work his system. They play the way he wants. And obviously it's going to be a change of football style if Golesh goes there, because he likes the dual threat quarterbacks. He likes to run the ball and do that with them. But I think it might work. So we will see there. But yeah, Billy Napier is gone. And then the other head coach who is gone. And this ties into some very happy news. So it's kind of a two-part story, this. But Colorado State have fired their head coach, Jay Norvell, who very controversially took the job there whilst being Nevada's head coach 4 years ago. Took the entire Nevada team with him. Left that Nevada team in ruins, basically. A very, very, controversial move at the time. First ever black head coach in the history of Colorado State. He broke some markers going there. But in his fourth season, with just an 18-26 record and his 13-13 in the Mountain West, they have fired him. In year 3 last year, they went 8-5. They had a 6-1 record in the Mountain West last year, obviously behind Boise and UNLV. But you thought year 3 everything was coming together there for a team that is about to move to the Pac-12 next year. But they started off 2-5 this season. Any momentum from last year, like with Florida's, has gone, and now Colorado State has just one winning season since 2017. The program as a whole, in the last 20 years, they've only registered an 8-win season 3 times, and with the Pac move coming, they've decided this is not good enough. It is a big school with a lot of fans, and they have been underachieving, so they have fired him. It is just a measly $1.5 million buyout for Norvell. I don't think he got a new contract while he was there, so he was coming towards the end of it anyhow, and they've made the decision to do away with him. It's the border war this weekend with Wyoming, so obviously they want to be competitive in that. They feel that getting rid of him and bringing in an interim will give them the basis they need for that. But why did they fire him? Because at home this weekend it was homecoming for Colorado State in front of 40,000 mostly Rams fans, and they got their ass handed to them 31-19 by whom? By the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who, registering their 6th win of the season, are bowl eligible for the first time under Timmy Chang. And we've stanned that program ever since he went there 4 years ago, and it's been highs, it's been lows, there's been frustration, there's been excitement, but finally the Rainbow Warriors have broken through the glass ceiling and they will be bowl eligible this year, and there are plenty of games to play. There is still an opportunity at the Mountain West in there for this Warriors side. We'll talk about that game very briefly in a moment, but first off, right, Colorado State, big move coming to the Pac-12 next year. You see this a lot of time with some teams when they're moving up. They do in advance. They want to get the new guy, probably someone who's better at a higher level, which Norvell has not been so far. And probably rightly, I know he had a really good year last year, but then when you lose all the momentum and then you lose your big homecoming game and you're not really that competitive in it, I think something's wrong and you have to make a change after 4 years.
Yeah, felt like a good time to make a change. The drop-off has been dramatic. The shift in conference, usually comes with a shift of mindset, shift of goals, shift of, let's say, general personnel about the direction you're going in right now. You're going to have new levels of competition to potentially go up against. Also, potential new recruiting markets. Changing conference, like I say, will shake up the landscape of football. So, with such a cheap buyout, you've not shown any faith in him yet. Because it felt like it pretty obvious. If you don't extend a guy this long and you kind of let that contract dwindle down, he must have thought, the writing's on the wall pretty soon for me. So, pretty easy decision by them. Like I say, it's be an interesting hire to see what direction they go in for their potential new life of football. But this one was pretty straightforward and doesn't hurt the banks, at least. No.
In terms of front runners for this, obviously it will technically be a power job next year. So I know Brian Harsin, the old Auburn head coach, he's been linked to this. The interesting one, if they go down the alumni route, And Brent won't like this because he's currently at Michigan. Their running back coach, Tony Alford, was in the frame for that job last time. He was actually favoured to get that job before Norvell came in at the last moment and left Nevada for the program. So there's expected to be a big push to get the Michigan running back coach back to his alma mater to take over there. He's been at Notre Dame, he's been at Ohio State, he's been at Michigan. He's been in top programs now for nearly the last 20 years, and he was a standout running back himself for the Rams a long time ago. So I'm not sure which way they'll go. You figured like they'd want a bigger name going into the Pac-12, but I think they could do worse than Alford. But as I say, they've got a big game coming up this weekend for the interim. It's the border war with Wyoming. That is highly contested and fought over. That's the one where they run the trophy halfway with one set of cadets, and then the other set of cadets take it to the stadium. So they literally, what is there, right about 90 miles or something between the stadiums? Each set takes it about 45 miles, but they run it basically.
That's insane.
It is. It's one of football's. It's one of the big rivalries that not so many people know about. But yeah, the border war should be a fun one. But sort of flipping into that, and we'll go into the reviews now. But Hawaii, 4 years ago, the program was dead. It was buried. There was nothing there. A toxic culture. All its players had left. They'd kind of become a little bit of a laughing stock, and that program was left with barely nothing. No talent, no stadium, no place to call home, and seemingly no future. And they go with the hometown hero, Timmy Chang. He's their all-time leading passer, one of the best players they've ever had. And like so many teams in a rut, they go for the guy who's been the alumnus just to steady the ship a bit. But over the last few years, you've seen them develop gradually. They've had some 5-win seasons. They've been knocking on the season. They've been knocking on the door of bowl eligibility. You've seen more talent coming through the door. You've seen them retaining more talent, crucially, and building that team up year by year. And it seems like they've fixed it up a little bit. Offense has usually been pretty good. You've got the playmakers in there now. You've landed on one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the country after having one of the best senior throwers for a few years. Then this year your defense seems to have come up into line with them, and just very gradual. It's taken its time, but 6-2, firmly in the Mountain West choice now. One of the best receiving trios in the nation, quite frankly. And you're in front of 40,000 fans on the road in what is a very hostile atmosphere. And Colorado State came back late in this game with 2 touchdowns. It was a 1-score game, and they got to like a 4th and 1 near the end of the game, and the running back gets hit like 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, breaks the tackle, and houses the thing from about 40 yards out. Like one of the biggest plays they'll ever make. This has been a pleasure to see this program literally rise from the ashes like a phoenix. And, they're not done yet. This is not just them scraping bowl eligibility on the last day. There's half of the conference season still to go, and there's maybe a championship in there. The job he's done has been absolutely phenomenal, and one of the reasons, you look for these teams.
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job so far of a team that, when, like, say, in recent years, had Braden Schrager, and they were a team that was kind of stable under a veteran quarterback like that, but obviously it was time for them to move on. And I think the biggest job, like I said, the biggest question mark would have had about him was finding a new signal caller. But the fact that they've managed to do that with, like, say, such a young, impressive young man that has made a big impact right now from such an early age, that's, like, say, making the offense his own. It's the extension of the head coach and the offensive coordinator on the field, and it's playing incredibly well for someone, like, say, we've taken up the FBS mantle at a young age. It leads me to believe there's a potentially very bright future, not just this year, but going forward as well. And as you say, they've got that first monkey off the back. They've got the bowl eligibility with plenty of football left to play. And right now, as the sky really is a limit for them this year. Mountain West this year has been fairly messy. We've seen big losses recently with likes of Fresno State that Colorado State recently upset recent weeks. So right now it's an ever-changing landscape. But yeah, it won't surprise me if they are a team that make a late run and are in contention in the later weeks this year.
Absolutely. I mean, spoiler alerts, we're going to talk about it later, but they sit third in the Mountain West at the minute. They're 3-1. And they are well positioned to make a go at this and to get an 8, 9, 10 win season. We'll probably see some records start falling soon, but it's just how versatile this team is. We talk about, like, the offense has been good for ages. The defense has been the problem. In this game against Colorado State, 7 pass breakups, 8 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, absolutely dominating. And, given they've put some star power into those coaching positions. Jeff Reinebold is there as the D tackles coach. They've got a great coaching staff, and they got one of the best kickers in the nation. The nation's sweetheart, Kansei Matsuzawa. Yeah, Matsuzawa, 21 consecutive field goals from him. He has been absolute nails. It's special teams.
I think he's got 83 points this year.
Yeah, special teams, it's defense, it's offense. This is not just one elite unit holding the rest of the team along. It's just a complete team, all 3 phases through.
Yeah, they're all putting their weight. They're all playing in harmony. They're all playing complementary football right now. No one is, dragging them, kicking and screaming. So, yeah, they're fundamentally sound in their coaching staff right now. And winning football games is the only way they'll be able to retain those and keep the players on board. So, yeah, you should see very little turnover after this year, which for them is not usually the case.
No, it's not. Maybe a new age of football. The only problem they're going to have this year is when the Wolves come calling, when the transfer portal opens. Aliardo, the quarterback, probably there are going to be a lot of power teams inquiring about him. A lot of those big programs on the West Coast are going to want to get their claws into him. Maybe even the likes of your Oregons and your Washingtons are probably going to try and put some bids in there for him, and it's going to be very hard to keep in. And Chang himself, I know he'd probably want to stay there for life, but after what you've done here, you've got to start looking. Teams are going to start coming for him now, like for head coaching jobs, for bigger jobs.
Yeah. I think teams these days often stand to try to take a bit more notice of the reclamation projects, which the Rainbow Warriors were when he took over. It was a team, that where they are located, they were a bit of an outcast, and they were kind of the forgotten team, but he's kind of trying to make them relevant again, and that usually goes a long way with convincing ADs that they're the guy to come in and try turn around their sinking ship as well.
Absolutely, they are. So well done to Hawaii. Congratulations to Coach Jag, all those players and staff members and everyone who's gone through that rebuild. It's been such an impressive job to watch happen. And again, it's not over. So we're going to be keeping our eye on them every single week, because they could potentially be in that Mountain West chatter, which would be insane. Right, we're going to move on to the Week 8 review now. I know that technically was a review, but that was technically part of the news as well about Norvell's firing. I'm never going to break my tradition of talking about the game highlighted in the title, and this was the one that we did the watch along for last weekend, and thanks to everyone who joined that. I appreciate you. But we went live for the Holy War, Utah at BYU. Both teams ranked. Utah were ranked 23rd, BYU were ranked 15th. The first time in 16 years these two teams locked horns as all ranked competitors. BYU sporting their unbeaten record. Utah just one loss on the season, looking to spoil that, and it was every bit as physical and tough and undisciplined and chippy as you could possibly imagine. But after a very, very tense game for the most part, after 3 quarters, it was only 10-7 to BYU. This was very much a defensive-based game where both defenses were turning over on downs. There were interceptions, there were forced fumbles, there was whatever you liked in this game until BYU broke it open late. But BYU 24-21 winners over the Utes. Bear Backmeyer started this off. It was in the second quarter. First quarter was just turnovers. Both teams got turned over on downs on 4th and 1s, as both defenses got off to a really good start. But yeah, BYU struck first. Bear Backmeyer passed to Chase Roberts, the BYU star receiver, who the play before that had made a beautiful 40-yard grab and run across the field. He had back-to-back receptions, which blew the Utes defense open to put them 7-0 up. Utah responded just before the half, 3 minutes left. Devin Dampier found his wide receiver Ray Davis from 11 yards out to even it up. But BYU were able to fight their way downfield, nearly got to the point where they were able to get another touchdown before the half, but some bad clock management just before the end of the half meant they had to settle for a field goal. But they went in 10-7 to the good. But then it all broke open in the fourth quarter after, again, a third quarter where just nothing really got going. The drive charts were crazy. You started, like, Utah in the third quarter went punt, turnover on downs, BYU went punt. It was just really tough. The drives were long and very, very slow in their, in how they got there. But Bray, the Utah running back, he had a 49-yard rushing touchdown. Completely broke open the BYU defense just to start the fourth quarter to put the Utes 4 up. But then BYU turned this thing on its head. 2 quick touchdowns for them. Parker Kingston had a 12-yard rushing touchdown, and then Bear Backmeyer with one of the plays, probably the play of the game. He had a scramble from 22 yards, and I remember he broke 7 tackles. He took 3 Utah players over the line with him. It was one of the most sensational quarterback runs you will see all season, interspersed with a pick thrown by Devin Dampier, and then they got turned over on downs. Utah were able to get a touchdown with 1:20 to go. Dampier found Simmons to bring it back to a 4-point game, but then they tried the onside kick. They did recover it, but unfortunately it hit a Utah player first before they got the recovery. It didn't hit a BYU player first, so it was a foul, and BYU were able to see this one out. But everything we kind of expected from the Holy War, right? It was undisciplined. 12 penalties for Utah. There were 5 for BYU, but I don't think they had one till the fourth quarter. Utah were really sloppy and dismal to start this, but you had turnovers on downs, you had interceptions, you had fumbles, there were sacks galore in this game, there was tons of terrific defense on show. But BYU showing that after last year and the collapse they had, and was it kind of just a flash in the pan, could they come back and do it again? They're suddenly one of the last 6 teams in the country who are still unbeaten this year, and week in, week out, by hook or by crook, they do it in many different ways. They find a way to win, and they don't have the star-studded lineup Utah has in terms of draft prospects, but Bear Backmeyer is a true freshman. I mean, Christ, how mature does he look for his age to come into that sort of environment and lead his team to a win like he did?
Yeah, it's a very toxic partisan crowd environment. Come up against one of the most ferocious D-lines in the country, one of the best players in the line, but he showed every bit of nous that he's got. A very clever young man. Like I say, he was efficient on the day. Like I say, good completion percentage. Did really well escaping plays. Like I say, carrying on drives with his legs. For me, he's one of the guys right now that's firmly in the Heisman conversation. Like I say, he's got BYU at 7-0, firmly in their title race, firmly in the playoff race. I'd say he wasn't expected to start. He was thrust in straight away. The spotlight was turned on him very quickly, but he's done a tremendous job so far, living up to the potential, living up to the hype, and winning. Probably one of the biggest games we're playing, like I say, because Holy War's back now. Social media was rife with things before the game. This is 2 teams and fan bases that passionately don't like each other, but he handled it very well. Like I say, it was an ugly game. It was scrappy. It was chippy. It's everything we wanted. I didn't want a shootout. I wanted a gritty battle, and that's what I got in the end.
Absolutely, and like that. See, because when I was watching it, I had my volume on my TV down at like 2 or 3, so it didn't come through the mic, and I could still hear that BYU crowd as though I got it on full volume. It was absolutely sensational, the environment, but you've got to talk about Bear Backmeyer. He was only 13 of 23, which is 56% on his passing touchdown. No interceptions on the day. He did throw an interception. It got chalked off, one of Utah's many penalties on the day. But, he rushed for 69 yards. That rushing touchdown, like that, if you want to make yourself known in that rivalry, you break 3 tackles, you force a fourth missed tackle, and then you carry 3 players over the line with you on your own. He was getting no support from his team. That's a kind of play that goes into infamy and will be showed year on year as to what this means and what you've kind of got to put in to get something out of this rivalry. But that kid don't look like a true freshman who's only taking his first snaps in college football. He looks like he's been in this for 4 years. He's gritty, he's tough, he knows what it means, and he's fully invested in this thing. Considering he was never committed to BYU to start with, like, the kid just looks tremendous for his age.
Yeah, and like you say, he ain't big. He ain't well built. He's not that strong, but he has just, like I say, a strong core. Like I say, he's very gritty, very determined. He just, like I say, throws himself with reckless abandonment, plays bigger than his weight, and like I say, he's very strong and physical at point of contact. He does not shy away from people, even though he's not built to take those hits long term. It doesn't change the way he plays.
No, absolutely it doesn't. But what has also helped him there, and a lot of it's on him, but finally, for the first time in what feels like a little bit of a while, BYU have a legitimate threat at running back again. LJ Martin, we talk about players impressing in that game. How good was he? 122 yards on 26 carries. He was going at 4.7 yards per carry. They kind of bottled him up in the first half. I think he was at like 3.5 yards per carry, but BYU create these running thumpers who can do the dirty work all game, and eventually they'll tire you out and break you down. And like, he's got 500-yard rushing performances this year so far. Like, they've got their next legit guy there who they're going to send to the NFL. He had an amazing game for them.
Oh yeah, this guy's impressive. He is built. He's stocky. He's thick. He's very hard to bring down. Once he gets up to his top speed, like, he just carries guys with him for multiple yardage. Very hard to bring down. Great centre of gravity. And the BYU O-line is very good when it wants to run the ball. It's good in the trenches. It's good at getting the holes for him and then getting to the next level and out and then leading him out there. So it's an offense that, like I say, gets all the plaudits, will, like I say, bear, but it's primarily an offense that does not work if you can't run the ball. And he's another guy there that, yeah, he should now go on and have a very good season and maybe potentially a good career, and then look towards the draft where when he does decide to finally make a decision, should have a decent amount of hype behind him.
You should do indeed, but you did mention the offensive line briefly. That is kind of what really did it for BYU all game. They gave up just 8 pressures, 1 sack, 2 hits, and 5 hurries. And apart from Isaiah Jatta, the left tackle, getting got by John Henry Daly early on, the Utah star player, he was pretty much ineffective after that play. He had some bad missed tackles on the day. He missed 2 touchdown runs were a result of him, but they just locked down everything and gave Bear the opportunity he needed to get where he needed to in the game. They had to make a change at right guard because of injury, but it didn't really affect them that badly. The line played about as perfect as it could have in the scenario against Utah. Not many lines hold up against those front 4. No.
Right, so when you consider they've got John Daly, right, so one right now the best all-round defensive lineman for Utah. Like, he's one of the best players in the nation right now. He has absolutely gone out of his way and wrecked some games single-handedly. Always someone you must account for. Like I say, the O-line did a great job of shepherding him, and even with injuries, filling in very well. So yeah, like I say, BYU, they're just another team that just make NFL linemen, and it just feels like another couple of these guys will go pro.
Yeah, it does indeed. On Utah's side, they struggled to run the football, which is what kind of did them. And obviously they had the big rushing touchdown, which kind of inflated the figures. They had 243 yards at 7.1 yards per carry, but like, there were several huge runs in there that kind of inflated it. They did all right, but just undisciplined. They struggled with the crowd. A lot of false starts. Obviously, they picked off Bear at a crucial point, which got wiped out because of bad play. It's kind of what home field advantage can do to you there. They weren't necessarily bad. Like I say, Dampier had 1 bad throw. Apart from that, I thought he looked really impressive. I say they ran the ball pretty well. They protected him really well. Apart from Fano had a really bad game by his standards, but I think it's the indiscipline that was the difference in this one, rather than maybe a skill problem.
Yeah, I feel like these games, it's all about the not getting the emotion. Don't let the day, like say your opponent, and that kind of like get on top of you. If they get under your skin, then they've already won half the battle. Because these games, like say, a lot of them are mental as they are physical. Like say in the crowd, once they're silenced or once they're amped up, either way, like it can make life very difficult for you.
Yeah, it can indeed, and their defense was all right. I mean, two sacks on the day, but they were kind of more splash plays than anything else. BYU's defense, on the other hand, 23 pressures. They were after Dampier a lot. He was running around quite a bit. I mean, obviously it's what he does well in the pocket, but you look at BYU and it's built. That safety core is incredible. Tanner Wall, interception on the day. Satuala, the other safety, he was nails. They gave Dampier nothing to really throw at downfield, and they were both really good in run defense as well. And again, there's no big stars really on that BYU defense. It's just they're very well drilled, they're very well trained, I think, is the thing to take away from that.
Yeah, let's say not a lot of stars, but guys like John Kelly, guys like say that have made their way back now, and they're big, imposing threats that just have a strong motor. They're disciplined. They've got a lot of technique, and ultimately very coached well. And in the end, they played a good, clean game as a collective unit, and they just made the right plays at the right times.
Absolutely, they did. So for BYU, tremendous result for them. They're on the road at Iowa State this week. It's never easy, but the Cyclones are in a bit of a spin cycle right now. Utah, they will need to get back to winning ways, but I think the Big 12 is probably out of reach for them at this point. That's 2 defeats in there. Moving on, that was one of the 5 all-ranked showdowns we had this week, and the other major in terms of the rivalry, we had the duelled Shillelagh, and that is between USC on the road at Notre Dame. These two teams, I think it's 91 times they've faced each other now, I think is the exert. And for Notre Dame, this was a game they absolutely had to win. They've lost their 2 big encounters so far this year. There was no losing this, no close loss that was going to do them. They simply had to win. And for USC, Lincoln Riley is trying to expunge this narrative that he can't win big games. Obviously, they had the loss to Illinois earlier in the year when Illinois were a ranked team, and that's kind of followed him around. And they had a chance to put the proverbial axe into Notre Dame's season. But unfortunately for them, they were unable to. Notre Dame come out 34 to 24 winners and preserve their season for now. They still can't afford any slip-ups. Another loss, and that might be it for them. But they came out in a hurry in this game, and we saw finally maybe one of the best games of Jeremiah Love's career when they most needed it, because he's had a bit of a slow year by his standards. But this thing was a slugshot fest early on. The first half, USC took the lead. Jaden Maeva had a pass to Lake McCree to put USC up. Jeremiah Love evened things up. About a minute later, he had a massive 70-odd yard run down the field, and then 2 plays later, he ran it in from 12 yards to even it up. USC retook the lead with a field goal. Ryan Sierre, their kicker, he had a nails day, hit from 42. But then Notre Dame took the lead. The other running back, Jadarian Price, had a touchdown run for 16 yards out to put Notre Dame 4 up to the good. USC did respond with a field goal just before the half to make it 14 to 13. Coming out the half, Notre Dame scored first. CJ Carr with his first receiving touchdown of the day to Will Pauling from 6 yards out to put their Notre Dame 8 points up. But then USC rally. They get another field goal. Sierre again from 43 yards out, so he hit 2 from 40 to make it a 5-point game. And then Maeva to Jacoby Lane. It was a 59-yard touchdown. They just absolutely destroyed the Notre Dame secondary. They went for a 2-point conversion, which they got, which put USC 3 points to the good. But then their offense, or the team, just completely fell to bits, having managed to withstand an absolute barrage from Jeremiah Love. Notre Dame were running all over them at will, but they'd still got a 3-point lead. On the kickoff, after that Jacoby Lane touchdown, special teams absolutely wet the bed. Jadarian Price returned the kick 100 yards, full length of the field. They missed 2 tackles. Notre Dame blocked it perfectly, and special teams just absolutely wets the bed. And Notre Dame retake the lead within about 15 seconds after USC have put themselves in a really tough position to be able to get the lead in that one. That gives Notre Dame the lead again. And then the offense just goes to absolute sleep. Jaden Maeva gets picked off. It was a really bad pass behind his receiver. So, yeah, they got picked off, and on the back of that, Notre Dame scored. CJ Carr had a rushing touchdown, and then they tried a trick play. They gave the ball to Makai Lemon. It looked like an end around. He ran out to near the sideline, attempted a throw, got absolutely walloped by a Notre Dame player, coughed the ball up. It was a turnover. Notre Dame got the ball, scored again, got themselves 10 points up, and that was that. They were not able to get back into this game. It ended with another pick from Jordan Maeva. I mean, the drive chart for USC to end the game, it was interception 5 plays 20 yards, fumble 4 plays 30 yards, turnover on downs 4 plays 9 yards, interception 9 plays 26 yards. 4 consecutive turnovers from this team. And I mean, Notre Dame needed this really, really badly, Rye. And for a good chunk of this game, despite them playing so well, you thought USC are really looking good here. They've somehow withstood the barrage. They might pull the upset here, but then Lincoln Riley happens again. His entire team just goes to sleep, and Notre Dame pull out the win, and they save their season by the hair of the chinny chin chin.
As you say, Jeremiah Love needed this game badly. Started the season by our own and his very high standards pretty slow, and it felt like the Jadarian Price had kind of taken over the mantle as running back one, but this week he was unstoppable. Like you say, he was just a freight train that the Trojans, even though they probably spent all week preparing for him, just had no answer on the day. They were unable to stop him at all, and that defensive line was gashed. But yeah, a competitive start. Like I say, it was a good game, but right at the end, or let's say closer to the middle of the second half, like I say, when you need to have your wits about you, like I said, Lincoln Riley's proved, like I say, that the questions doubt about the big game mentality, like I say, protecting their leads when they come out hot, like I say, or they start cold, finish hot, like I say, not putting two halves of football together, really did come back to bite them. CJ Carr, he was okay, he was not special, like I say, it's been an up and down season for him, but the ground game, special teams really did take over this week, and yeah, it was a huge win for them. They really did need it, but another quite damning loss on the resume of Lincoln, unfortunately.
317 yards of rushing offense for Notre Dame, going at 7.73 yards per carry. The EPA per run was 18.3. Jeremiah Love ended up with 228 yards and a touchdown, going at 9.5 yards per carry. Jadarian Price's backup had 13 for 87 and a touchdown. He was going at 6.7 yards per carry. CJ Carr had the last touchdown that was a rushing touchdown from him. He only threw for 127 yards, and he threw a pick in this game as well, which was not a particularly nice one from him either. Like you say, he only got sacked once. He wasn't under a great deal of pressure. Only one USC defender graded over 70 via PFF. The rest of them were just absolutely awful, all against the run. Nobody could stop the run whatsoever, and they couldn't really get a stop to save their lives apart from the one pick. It's kind of damning when you see that. You're in your rivalry game, you've got a chance to punt them out of the playoffs and really do away with them. You let them rush for 320 on you. It's just, there's no backbone to the USC team. We've said with Lincoln Riley's defense for years, there's no spine. When you get in at them and you really apply the pressure to them, they just break apart.
Yeah, like I say, it's a team that they don't spread the workload out. Like I said, the Notre Dame defense probably for me was one of my impressive units that managed to. I mean, they don't stop Makai Lemon, but you slow him down. Like you see, you hold him to just 4 receptions, 76 yards, and also like no yards on special teams. You've got a good chance of winning. because he is the big guy for the Trojans that needs to make the plays. And like I say, the run game wasn't great. Like I say, obviously, Wayman Jordan, that big injury, it felt like this week. Like I say, Miller did okay, King Miller. Like you say, he's a good player, a young player, but he was struggling, like you say, just under 4 yards to carry to move the chains. So it was something where their offense was really struggling, and no one on the day. Like I say, Lane played well, Jacoby Lane, but in the end, like I say, it always felt like it was just in relief more than, like I say, giving them a chance to win the game. But yeah, ND defense did a great job on the day of one, pressuring Mayer and getting to him. Like I say, two costly turnovers on the day.
I tell you who looks incredibly impressive on that defense, who I'm really starting to like quickly. Drake Bowen, the linebacker.
Linebacker, yeah.
In coverage, he's excellent. They use him as a pass rusher a little bit as well, but they always have a beating heart in that linebacker room at the middle that makes it all tick, and he looks like he's taken over the mantle there, but he looks really impressive recently.
Yeah. Like I say, when they lost JD Bertrand, didn't they, this year? Their big time, like I say, enforcer in the middle. Like I say, Drake Bowman was just a sophomore last year. This year he's had to come in and fill those gaps left by those probably 4 or 5 year veterans. Like I say, this young man's had to step in this year, and he's doing a good job so far of rallying the troops, and like I say, kind of being the guy that people are going to look towards for answers.
Yeah, oh, absolutely they are. And then in USC's case, I mean, where do you go with Lincoln Riley now? Because it's at a point that program should be doing better. The amount of recruits they get, the high-level recruits they get, the amount of talent that's there, and yet he's like James Franklin. He's going to become the new James Franklin in the Big Ten now. Every time you put his team in a position in a big game where there's a lot on the line, they just don't mentally look like they have it, and that has got to come down to their coaching at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think Lincoln Riley might be hoping for a coordinator job in the NFL to save him his blushes or the embarrassment of being fired. Like I say, if he lines up a new job, like I say, early in the future. But yeah, there will be questions about him. I'm pretty sure his contract is pretty large. Maybe he feels like that gives him some safety right now. But right now, he's not delivering what the team needs. He's winning games, he's producing players and that, but they're just not competitive in the grand scheme of things. The Trojans are one of the biggest franchises or one of the biggest programs in collegiate sports in America. They should by right be in contention every year, but they're just not.
No.
There are multiple options right now. Lincoln Riley, yeah, he's doing a good job, but at some point when he's good, not good enough.
Yeah.
When the cost comes down, or when he has a terrible year, which one comes first? The buyout gets affordable, or he has a terrible year and you're forced to fire him.
Yeah, and the trouble is at the minute you've got a reigning power in the Big Ten in Ohio State, but a lot of the other big guns are reloading right now, and they will be better eventually. So you're not going to have a window where all these teams are bad. You're going to have to beat someone eventually. And that was the same at the end of the Pac-12. They could never beat Utah. When Utah were good, they couldn't beat Oregon when Oregon were good. They've just never really taken that step forward. So if I'm him, I've got him on a hot seat now because 2 times this year, he's played ranked teams with a lot on the line, Illinois and Notre Dame, and he's lost them both. It's just he's not changing, and I don't think it's going to change whilst he is there.
I do blame the Trojans as well for giving a 10-year contract.
Yeah, you should have given him less.
You made it happen. I imagine, financially viable, you can't get rid of him.
No.
I don't think right now there's probably any way to get rid of him, because he's still got 6 years left.
Yeah.
Of salary and buyout and whatever thing. It'd be astronomical, to go and cut ties with him. Even the next year. I can't see him going anywhere in the next 18, 24 months or under that.
No. And, you're going to have issues with talent going forward. You've got no talent on your
year. And then, the Commanders or someone, hire him as their offensive coordinator.
And he's going to have problems with talent this year. He's losing his one superstar this year. Like, Mekhi Leonard's going to the draft.
$8 million.
How much?
Roughly $80 to $90 million if you were to fire him this year.
So that's it.
Record.
What was Jimbo? Well, Jimbo's was 72, I think.
Yeah. This is rumoured to be up to 90.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This Billy Napier been the fourth biggest one ever. Is probably not going to be in the top 20 in 10 years'
Riley's
time.
going nowhere. I imagine that's only going to come down gradually as well. I feel
No.
like it's for the long haul, and yeah, it could be.
But
It could be some very mediocre years.
buyouts are getting bigger and bigger. I don't even think we discussed this on the pod, but Kurt Signetti got his new contract last week. I'm guessing as a result of Penn State registering their
Sometimes
interest with
getting
him.
interest isn't always
And
about
his-
the contract. It
Kurt-
makes a team like wake up and like say pounds.
Well, Kurt Signetti's buyout is now 92 million at Indiana, so Indiana have gone all in on him. They're giving him 11.6 million a year, and they said his coordinators, who are earning over 2 million a year now, started off with him in Division 2 getting $8,000 a year. It's absolutely insane. You love to see it, but like these buyouts are getting bigger and bigger, and for some reason teams are fully guaranteeing them. I don't know why they're doing it, but I guess you've got to protect them. I don't know, but howdy who. But yeah, Lincoln Riley, it continues to go bad. Notre Dame, they can't lose another. That's just one obstacle they've overcome, but they've still got to keep winning and winning and winning if they want to get in the playoffs. Talking about teams who have got a head coach who doesn't seem to be taking them anywhere anytime soon, and talking about head coaches who have done one hell of a rebuilding job at their programs, turning a program from a laughingstock into what is now a multi-season legitimate team. Vanderbilt, the Commodores, ranked as favourites against a AP top 25 team for the first time in their history. They were ranked number 17. They were at home against number 10 ranked LSU and their head coach Brian Kelly. And they were favoured in this game by 3, which raised a lot of people's eyebrows. They're like, well, yeah, they're doing well, but it's Vanderbilt, it's LSU. LSU are clearly going to find a way to beat them. I don't know why LSU were not favoured in this. We both had LSU to win in the pick watch, I think, although we would say we would be happy if Vanderbilt won. But Vanderbilt came to play in this one. I watched this thing from start to finish on the early slate, and they were so damn impressive, as was their defense early doors. LSU did take the lead early on with Damian Ramos field goal from nearly 50. Beautiful kick from him. But Diego Pavia, the man with the biggest mouth in college football, he had a rushing touchdown with 4 minutes to go at the end of the first quarter to put Vandy 7-3 up. LSU hit back. Nussmeier had a touchdown pass to Traders Green from 24 yards out to put LSU back in front 10-7. But Vandy kept going. They managed to force a turnover, and they got really ballsy with just under 6 minutes left in the first half. They got to 4th and goal at the LSU 1. They'd messed up the previous 3 attempts, which were all from within the 5. They'd not been able to get in. Clark Lee decides, no, I'm not going to tie this up. I'm going to go hell for leather. Hands it off to Cedric Alexander, who gets it into the end zone by the hair of his chinny chin chin, and it works. Vandy go up 14-10. LSU, with 45 seconds left in the half, they get a field goal to bring it back down to a 1-point game. Ramos hit from 42 yards this time, but Vandy get uber aggressive. There's a good return off the kick, and they're able, with 2 seconds left, to put a field goal of their own over with so the half expires. Brock Taylor, who himself is on a stupidly long run at the minute, I think he's at 20 consecutive field goals for the Commodores. He hits one in from 46. So Vandy go up at the half 17-13 in the lead, and you're wondering whether they can maintain it or not. And they come out of the half with the football, and they go on a wonderful 10-play, 75-yard drive, which knocks 6 minutes off the clock and ends with Diego Pavia finding his tight end Cole Spence from a yard out to extend the lead to 11. And, Vanderbilt's tight ends destroyed LSU all day long. LSU did hit right back, a deep throw downfield. Xavier Thomas, 62 yards. It was an absolutely tremendous catch under pressure, shook 2 defenders off, and then just hit it right down the perimeter. One of the best touchdowns you'll see, maybe this season potentially. It was really good. LSU got aggressive and went for 2, which they failed with, so they were down by 3 points. But Vandy respond with a second touchdown drive in a row. And again, they go 10 plays, 75 yards, take nearly 6.5 minutes off the clock. And then this time, Pavia, he has a 21-yard touchdown run to finish this thing off just as the third quarter is about to expire. Vandy up by 10. LSU do respond with a field goal, but it's hard going. They go 9 plays, 70 yards, but Vandy's defense keeps finding stops. It takes nearly 4 minutes off the clock, and then this game just goes super defensive. Both teams punt twice before the end of the game. LSU get minus 10 yards on their next 2 drives as Vandy just keep teeing off on them. Vandy can't get a first down to save their lives, even up just 7. But it gets to a point where they get the ball back with 3 minutes to go, and Pavia and co, they run out the remaining 3 minutes to go. 7 plays, 54 yards, a big conversion at the end to seal the game. And for the second year in a row, Vanderbilt, the Commodores, knock off a hugely significant victory. Last year it was number 1 Alabama they took down at their own home. This year it's number 10 LSU. And right, you kind of wonder last year, was it just a little shot in the pan where, you know, they got a bit frisky, they had some good players, they pulled off a few good results, but is that sustainable success for them? Coming into this year, they're now 6-1. They've knocked off LSU at home. Diego Pavia was trash talking all week again, but he backed it up this week. This team, they've got a swagger about them, but they're backing it up on the field now. The offense, when it needs to. The defense came up so clutch for them late on, just gave Nussmeier absolutely nothing to go at. And when they needed to, the offense sees it out. Clark Lee, like Timmy Chang, has taken over a team that was a complete basket case and has turned them into formidable opponents. Nobody wants to play Vanderbilt anymore, and rightly so.
Nope. He has made He's taken them from one of, like, say, the perennial bottom feeders of the SEC to a legit threat, like, say, a serious back half of the playoffs, credible threat team, like, say, right now that has got an identity, it's got a chip on its block, it's got a bit of swagger, like, say, it's got some players that are proud, they're vocal, they're quite mouthful. Like I say, they talk a bit of smack now, but they're also able to back it up where they weren't before. Like I say, Clark Lee right now is one of the front runners for head coach of the year. Like I said, there's no two ways about it. What he's doing with his program right now, like I say, he's kind of got a synergy of a quarterback that not everybody's cup of tea. Pavia, like I say, runs his mouth a lot. There's been times where he's not lived up to it, but then other times where he's gone out there and he's delivered everything he said he would. And yeah, LSU team, like I say, that has got everything to play for still before the game kicked off. Huge test of where they are right now as a measuring stick for them. And they went out, they delivered, they played a perfectly clean game, and with 4 flags, no turnovers, and controlled time of possession, like I say, pretty much a perfect outing from them. And it just shows, like I say, right now where they are is the best place the franchise has probably ever been in, frankly. And like I say, they really are a team, like I say, that you do not want to play right now.
No, they're not. And they're full of heart. The only question I guess would be after this is when Pavia does leave, is it him? Because it feels like he's been the shot in the arm that this team needs. Like he is the player.
Who do they find to replace him?
That's going to be the big measuring stick of where they're really at for me. Like obviously 1 year's good. You got to prove it you can do it the next year with the same team, which they predominantly are. And they've done it again. But I mean, what? You play Mizzou this week at home. You're favoured again. You go beat Mizzou. You could do something truly special this year. Hell, Pavia's third in the Heisman voting. There could be a playoff appearance in their future if they carry on doing what they're doing. Their only loss is to Alabama, who are now ranked 4th in the country, and they were extremely competitive against those. Like, we can't rule out a Vandy playoff spot right now.
No, I mean, purely if you go off strength of schedule, they've played 4. They've played 10, they've got 15, they've got 22, and they've got 17 left. So you think just take into account the teams they've played that have been ranked this year, and then how that'll factor into what the committee thinks later down the year when they realise they've played a damn hard schedule. That will definitely work in their favour this end of the season. They're going to have a big say in the SEC. Like I say, Missouri, Texas, and a Tennessee team with all hopes. They will have a big say in what happens at the end of the year. And that will hopefully go a long way to maybe sneaking in.
And you know, I found out a fascinating schematic thing about Vanderbilt this weekend. They are the only team in the country in the FBS. I think Tarleton State do this. They have a new offensive line coach there who's been there since last year. Do you know that during the game, depending on which hash they're on, they swap their guards and tackles around? So, depending on whether they're playing on the strong side or the quick side, the left tackle and the left guard become the right guard and the right tackle, and they work vice versa. This was a scheme that was apparently used a lot back in the day, but it's almost completely oblivious at this point now. But I just find that fascinating, completely flipping your line apart from your centre. But
why does the hash make a difference?
I think because you know where your edge rushers line up, depending on, I think if you're on the left hash, you're going to have your more athletic guy with more of the field to cover. I think the defensive line scheme changes, but they flip their guards and tackles depending on where they are. But they were one of the worst rushing teams in the country. They're now pretty good at it. It's working, but I find that a fascinating schematic thing they have. The O-line coach is the only one who does it in pretty much college football now.
Yeah, that's very odd. Like I say, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of extra coaching, a lot of extra film and playbooks, like I say, because technically, like I say, that means both tackles and guards, like you say, are probably doing twice as much homework and reading up on other teams as well. So there's a lot of work that goes into that, and it's a lot of faith you're putting in your guys to ask them to just kind of reverse everything they do and forget everything you know for half the game. So yeah, that's very commendable effort from the players and the coaches, because yeah, a lot of teams could not commit to that and probably would not think it's the risk will outweigh the reward.
They're making it work. I'm going to be interested when these guys start coming up to draft time, because if you can play both,
Well,
and
if you've
got
snaps the entire through college 50-50, then
if you can
definitely work in your favour.
Yeah, if you can show that you can work the blind side and you can work both sides, because that's what your scheme is, like, you could become invaluable in the league. I am very intrigued about what happens when these Vandy prospects come to the draft now, because I had no idea. They just talked about it during the game. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I think only them and Tarleton State are the only ones that do it, and Tarleton are doing pretty well this year as well, I think. But yeah, Vanderbilt knock off another huge ranked team, and I say another big one for them this weekend. If anything, people should expect them to beat Missouri now at this point. So let's see how they deal with the pressure.
Leaves?
I mean, you would, wouldn't you? How funny would it be if he went to Penn State? James Franklin, massive success at Vanderbilt, goes to Penn State. Clark Lee, massive success at Vanderbilt, goes to Penn State. I think Nittany Lions fans would hate that, but you'd kind of find it like a bit of a history-making thing. But oh yeah, he's gone.
I don't think they could be that picky to turn him down, to be honest.
No, I think he's gone. When Pavia goes to the draft, I think he'll realise. I mean, he's left them a solid foundation there, but their recruiting classes are still mid. Like, they're not still getting 4- and 5-star recruits in there now. So we'll see. But I think he'll be gone sooner rather than later. Brent goes, so much for my LSU hopium. Yeah, where do LSU go?
Yeah, they're a team like they've let me down like Florida.
I'm honestly starting to think this QB class could be one of the worst in history.
Yeah,
like, Alla's injured. Every time it looks like there's a
Bubnick's
QB1.
Nussmeier's underwhelming.
Nussmeier didn't look great in this one for the most part. I know he's under pressure a lot, but it's Vandy's D-line. There's no stars on that Vandy D-line. It's just a concerted team effort, but he had a lot of opportunities to get him back into it. Vandy punted
not like
3 times. No.
He's got one of the best players, and he's got one of the biggest targets in the whole country in Traders Green, for one.
Exactly.
Big enough to be a star, but yeah. With no disrespect to Fernando, if Mendoza is the highest ranked QB in your quarterback class for the draft, it's probably not a very good class.
No, it's not. And that's
taking him first overall, like I say, it just sounds insane no matter how good he is.
Yeah, it's no disrespect to him, like, but yeah.
He will go incredibly high, but I think that says a lot about how guys have just fallen off.
Yeah. Yeah, there was not a great deal to like about that LSU defense. AJ Halsey looked really good. He had some good plays, but no Whit Weeks, I think, hurt. Like, Whit Weeks is the beating heart of that room, and I think maybe that's where they struggled early on. You feel like if Whit's playing, then, it might be a bit different, but hey, we're never going to talk bad about a Vanderbilt victory. So well done to Vanderbilt against the LSU Tigers. Lisa is in the building at the moment. I've seen her in there, and her team had a top 10 ranked meeting this week, and Ryan's going to sit there with a smile on his face because he doesn't have to eat humble pie at this one again. But they welcomed the Old Miss Rebel to Athens, and as you can't see on the screen below, my ticker's gone weird for some reason, but the lane train has stopped in Athens, Georgia. It is under a delay because their conductor has problems performing when his team comes into big game scenarios. The Old Miss Rebels ranked 8 at Georgia ranked 5. Georgia win 43-15 in what seemed to be a coming out game for Gunnar Stockton after so many inconsistent performances where we've wondered whether he's going to be the guy or not, but he turned up big when his team needed him against this free-scoring Old Miss offense, which did look good for large parts of this game, but again, just in situations, certain things that don't go your way. Georgia started this off. Peyton Woodring smacked in a 51-yard field goal after about 4 minutes, but Ole Miss took the lead. Trinidad Chambliss, the Division II quarterback, he had a 7-yard rushing touchdown to put them 7-3 up at the end of the first quarter. But Georgia started the second quarter off with a bang. Luke Lucky had the first of, I think it was his 2 touchdown passes of the day from Gunnar Stockton to put them in the lead. But then Ole Miss responded. Kyron Lacey had a rushing touchdown from a yard out to put them back in front, but then Georgia hit back. This was really ding-dong. Gunnar Stockton had a 22-yard rushing touchdown to make it 17-14 to the Dogs. But then Ole Miss, another touchdown before halftime. Kyron Lacey, second of the day, again from just a yard out. They'd done all the hard work and they punched it in. Peyton Woodring hit a 35-yard field goal just before halftime, but Ole Miss 21-20 to the good. And you're thinking they had that LSU win a few weeks back. Maybe the big game Rebels are coming to us. And right after the half, Trinidad Chambliss to Stribling. It was a 75-yard touchdown pass. It was the first play of the half, and Ole Miss just came out and scored. I'd gone away to make a coffee, and I came back, and I was like, oh, I missed a touchdown. But anywho, yeah. 8 points up right after the start of the third quarter, but Georgia never let them get away. Gunnar Stockton to Lucky again. It was a 3-yard touchdown pass to bring it back to a 2-point game, but then Ole Miss just kept them at bay. Trinidad Chambliss, he had a 2-yard rushing touchdown. It was checked, so there was a big thing with the replay official as to whether he got over or not, but it was decided he did break the play, and the play was upheld. And again, they took a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and Georgia were in a whole lot of bother. But then Ole Miss's offense, they started getting to Trinidad Chambliss. The pressure that just hadn't been there all game. They'd not made a single stop, I believe, until the fourth quarter of this game, and they started getting pressure on him, started putting him behind the sticks, and Ole Miss just fell to pieces. Stockton had a touchdown pass to Nate Frazier as running back, then to Lucky for his third of the day, and then they had a field goal as they had 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Kind of did a mini Denver Broncos on Ole Miss as they just completely fell to pieces. And we saw right here why Georgia have been champions, why, despite not being one of the most aesthetically pleasing teams to sometimes watch, they have all these big boys on the defensive line that can flip a game like that. They've got an elite defense when it wants to be, and that was the decider in this. When it came down to the clutch, Ole Miss for the billionth time went missing, and Georgia for the billionth time stepped up and did what they needed to do.
Yeah. It don't matter how well you start, it's about how you finish, and that this game kind of epitomised that entire quarter, because that second and third quarter, like I say, they were going back and forth, to-ing and throwing, like I say, strike, blows, like I say, they were like two boxers going at it, blow for blow. Like I say, it was some of the best football I've seen all year. Like I say, the first half, like I say, it was a tremendous game, but then when, like I say, it got serious and the game was on the line, into the third and then through the fourth quarter, like I say, Ole Miss did what they always do. Got stage fright. Chambliss looked like a guy that kind of realised that he had his team in contention for a national title, like I say, and kind of, like I say, went into a bit of a, like, deer in headlights mode in that fourth quarter. And like I say, that's when, like I say, a Kirby Smart team is too experienced, too well coached, and too well driven. So like I said, then like I say, get the Trembles and late on, and they took over the game with a huge quarter. Like I say, where the ground game kicked in, the Ole Miss defense tired. Like I say, big players that are reliable. Like I say, Lawson Lucky is one of their favourite targets for Stockton. Great day with 3 touchdowns. He's a red zone mismatch for a lot of guys. Like I say, they did really well in the end. Like I say, because their defense, like I say, came up with no turnovers, well, no interceptions, no sacks. It was pretty much a straight shootout for the entire game. But yeah, they did really well. As you say, Stockton showed, like I say, a lot of class, a lot of maturity. Like I say, played a really good, clean game for the day, and in the end, a well-deserved win for them. But this is why the Bulldogs are teams that, like I say, are always, like I say, making it to national titles on that route, because they get the job done, they see stuff out, and there's a reason the Rebels can't, and that's because, yeah, they're all gear and no idea. They're flashy, but they lack substance.
Just a quick one. The chat is talking about huge acorns right now. I hope we're not talking euphemisms here, Brent DeWitt and Mile Marker. So, keep the chat clean. But yeah,
I think this game summed up why, if I'm Florida, I don't hire Hugh Lane Kiffin.
So, do you know the stat that immediately stands out to me? So, the stop rate for a defense. So, that is drives that end in punts, turnovers on downs. For Georgia, it was 18%. It was 0 before the fourth quarter. Do you know what Ole Miss's stop rate was? 0%. They didn't stop a single offensive drive from Georgia all day. The only Georgia drives that didn't end in points were to end both halves, and they don't count as stops for a defense because the time's running out. They had a 0% stop rate for that. They did not stop Georgia once. Georgia got points off every drive. You cannot do that, right, in these situations, these big games. When you go into Athens, when you're playing there against the team that was eminently beat. Well, like I say, Georgia's defense was rubbish. I don't know where it went for the first 3 quarters. I've never seen it violated so badly in my life. And even then, in the fourth quarter, they weren't getting sacks on Chambliss. They were just pressuring him and hurrying him, and there were no tackles for loss or anything like that. It's just Ole Miss basically had to start throwing it, couldn't run it, and it kind of, the situation played into their hands. But again, that's unacceptable. A 0% stop rate for your defense in these big games. He's been there years. He's got a lot of talent there. It's not like he's not got nobody. That's on coaching, right?
Yeah, because I think the first thing you need to do, I think when you go to Athens, Georgia, what's the first thing you got to do is you've got to work the crowd.
You've got to get turnovers.
Yeah, you've got to get turnovers, because then eventually stopping drives. Like I say, we know the Bulldog crowd do get anxious. They can be quite temperamental, like I say, and things aren't going their way. But 0% drop drive, when you prove to the Bulldogs and the fans that whatever they do, you can't stop them, they just get louder, they get more obnoxious, like I say, and it just piles on for you. So it's one of those days where, yeah, the defense and the coaching just really did let them down. Like I say, they just offered no mosting. It was pretty pathetic on the day, if I'm honest.
It was, but you got to give him credit where it's due. Gunnar Stockton did look really good, despite the fact they kept going behind. Ole Miss kept scoring. He never let them get away. He never gave Ole Miss an opportunity to escape from this. He was like the limpet mine that wouldn't let go.
Oh yeah, it was a very polished performance for him. Like you say, he looked like a proper veteran. Like I say, been doing that his entire life. And say in the biggest moment, like you say, when they're shone brightest, he was able to command a fantastic comeback, and I suppose probably thrust himself into the Heisman race himself now. You can't really go and notice a performance like this. Where on the flip side, where Chambliss, I've noticed, and he's tumbled. And he's showing, like I say, not like I say, I thought for the first, like say that it maybe some of the moments are a bit too big for him.
I thought for the first 3 quarters he was very good. 2 rushing touchdowns. He kept leading scoring drives. Like, they were very mature. They were very long. Let me just get their drive chart up. So, Ole Miss, 14 plays, 65 yards, 5 minutes. 10 plays, 65 yards, 4 minutes. 11 plays, 75 yards, 5 minutes. They were the only 3 drives they had in the first half. All of them double-digit plays. all of them more than 4 minutes, all of them going the length of the field. The first one after the half, yes, it's 2 plays, 75 yards, takes 14 seconds, but the one after that, 12 plays, 75 yards, nearly 6 minutes. He went the length of the field 4 times against this Georgia defense without much trouble. There are very few quarterbacks who do that against you. We have seen Heisman winners get obliterated by this defense, and for a Div 2 guy, that is one of the most impressive drive charts you will ever see against Georgia.
Oh yeah, like I said, that he started the game on fire. He did incredibly well. I think it's just, like I said, it's a case, like I said, unfortunately he ran out of steam, but it doesn't help, like I say, that, well, it's not exactly much of a run game to help him, is there?
No.
That there is a lot of pressure on him right now to do it on his own, because he's not exactly like a complementary offense, unfortunately. So he is being let down by some departments.
And it still feels like Lane Kiffin doesn't like Lane Kiffin's always giving him dirty looks and some. It feels like he's playing him because he's been forced to play him. It feels like he wants to get Austin Simmons back in there, and like Trinidad's not the guy he wants. I get that vibe from him, which I don't think is very fair.
That don't surprise me at all. Like I say, I think after the injury, and like I say, Trinidad was playing so well that if he'd have put, like say, Simmons back in, there would have been an absolute uproar.
Yeah, like Simmons is his guy. Like he's developed Simmons, whereas with Chambliss he's not. You just get this vibe he just doesn't want Trinidad Chambliss to be in there, but Chambliss is... You're not going to take him out after this game. Like 80% of that game he was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Like I say, he's probably playing every game this year now, whether or not Lane likes that or not.
Oh dear. Brent clarifies the size and quantity of acorns that drop in the fall forecast how bad the winter will be. They're talking about real acorns. That is good. But yeah, well done to Georgia. Lisa's team continue to recover their season as things go by. And then the other fifth top 25 one we had Alabama and Tennessee, although this one was kind of, out of all of them, probably not the least exciting, but the one that maybe didn't have as much jeopardy in it eventually, however, when it was done. But Alabama continued to go from strength to strength. After that opening loss to Florida State, I think teams seem to lose to Florida State early in the year, then go on to become powerhouses. I don't know what it is about losing to the Noles, but it just seems to transform a team into a completely different beast entirely. And playing against their rival, Tennessee have had their number in the last few years, and you kind of figured that maybe it might be a case in this one. Alabama start off Isaiah Horton, who's having just an absolutely monster season for these guys, even if not stat-wise. The touchdowns he's getting are crazy. But he opened this up after about 10 minutes, touchdown pass there. But then Tennessee hit back very quickly. Joey Aguiar looked really good. But Braylon Staley got the touchdown for them to level it at 7-all. But then mistakes started appearing in this Tennessee offense. And Joey Aguiar got sacked by Yonze Pierre for a safety. And Aguiar got pinged with intentional ground. Well, he got pinged with intentional grounding, which caused the safety because there was just no one in the area for him, which put Alabama 2 up. Jam Miller had a rushing touchdown, which increased the lead to 18-7, and then the huge backbreaker just before the half expires. Tennessee on the Alabama 1. And this was one that Aguiar will want back, but he got picked off by Zabian Brown, who returned it. He housed it 99 yards for an interception return. Absolute backbreaker for Tennessee. Puts them down 23-7 at the half. And against this Alabama team, there was really no coming back from this. They opened up the third quarter with a touchdown. Deshaun Bishop had a 44-yard touchdown run. But they didn't convert the 2-point conversion for that, made it 23-13. But then Alabama got another touchdown through Rico Scott to put the lead back out to 30-13. Deshaun Bishop had another rushing touchdown with 10 minutes to go. It did make it a 10-point game, but Alabama just held on to the ball, and Daniel Hill had a rushing touchdown from 4 yards out to put this one to bed. And you know, Aguiar did not have the easiest of situations going to here. Obviously, was meant to start this year at UCLA, got supplanted, came up to Rocky Top. He's only just out of the group of 5, so he's still getting used to these situations. Kind of looked like the first time where the atmosphere got the better of him. It's not easy going to Tuscaloosa. The crowd got at him. He made some bad mistakes, and Tennessee just fell too far behind to really do anything about this. But Heupel's team, another one of those, they've hit their ceiling. They're not really going anywhere in terms of the upper echelons. And the Alabama train, it looks unstoppable right now.
Yeah, they have kicked into a new level in recent weeks. Like I say, they are Simpson. Right now, like I say, it feels like he's on a path to a Heisman. Or a Heisman final anyway. Like I say, the kid's going to be at the finals because in recent weeks, like I say, he's looked absolutely unstoppable. Like I say, and guys like Jeremy Bernard have really come on strong in recent weeks. Had a huge day, like I say, 60 yards around, but 50 yards rushing too. Like showed some versatility this week. Did that guy? I love him going into the next draft class. He looks like a real potential diamond. But yeah, ultimately, it just takes a handful of players to kind of be ruining performance, and the pick six at the half for me, yeah, that was game over there and then, because nobody knows how to control a game of football like the Crimson Tide. In the second half, they were never really in danger. It felt like they were going to manage to see this one out. Like I said, it's a very, very raucous atmosphere to get behind them, and I agree with you. I think Heupel's time, I feel like you say eventually the Vols are going to outgrow him. I don't think he can take them much further than he's got them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They were too uncompetitive in this, and it doesn't help. Again, your quarterback comes in right before the season, everything that happens with Armalevu, but the defense still looks bad. It's just not keeping them in these big games and giving them an opportunity, and it's putting it all on the group of five quarterback to do it for them. But I mean, like you said, the Alabama defense is playing lights out. Everybody talked about LT Overton this year, but it's Yonze Pierre on the other side. He was the one who broke this game open completely, and he's only a redshirt freshman, I believe, this year. Only played a handful of snaps for the team this year. Young, got years to go. When Overton's got it, already looks like the next guy in the line's there for them.
Yeah, like I say, he's doing really well. Yep, like I say, redshirt sophomore, young kid. That's is shining. Like you say, he's gobbling up those opportunities because the teams are showing so much attention to LT. But he's had a tremendous year to start the year, and looks like he's got a very bright future ahead of him right now.
It is. This defense is just completely stacked at the minute. We're starting to see more of Justin Hill. He's the new Wolf.
Hubbard, he's emerged, like I say, one of the top defenders in all the country as well, having a big breakout year.
He is. He's having a fantastic year, Bray Hubbard is. As I say, we're starting to see Justin Hill. He's the new Wolf linebacker in this system. He's basically going to be what... not Branch. Christ, who was the other one who was their linebacker this year? We really liked him. I'll remember. Anywho, he's going to be the new pivot. The Lions will be after him in a couple of years' time because he plays the system that we do, and they'll be looking at him entirely. He was one of the players to watch this year out of the true freshmen. But yeah, they're stacked all over. They look so good. Tennessee did not look good. But yeah, Alabama, the train rolls on. It doesn't look like anyone can stop them at the moment. That is everything in terms of the 5 ranked ones. But not only did 5 ranked teams fall in all ranked fixtures, 4 ranked teams fell against non-ranked opponents. And the biggest one of them all, every year you wait for them to make a mistake. Every year you're just waiting for them to fail. And this year, the Miami of Florida Hurricanes fell at home to the Louisville Cardinals in what is a game that they will want back, because Louisville have quietly been pretty good this year. They're 5-1 themselves. There's only 1 loss on the season for them. They're looking pretty good. But Miami were unbeaten. You thought this might be the year. Clemson suck, Florida State suck, all the high powers in the ACC, traditional ones, do not look good this year. Beck absolutely annihilated his opponents the week beforehand, and you're thinking, yeah, this is probably the time where they get together with it, but they were dominated out the gate from this. Louisville had 2 touchdowns in 10 minutes. Miller Moss had a rushing touchdown. Chris Bell, what is turning into a superstar receiver for Louisville, had his first touchdown of the day to make it 14-0. Miami did get 10 back. Fletcher had a touchdown run. Then they had a field goal just before the half, but Louisville re-established a 7-point lead with a field goal of their own from 50. There was a field goal back from Miami to make it 17-13, but their drive chart was poor. Louisville started the fourth quarter with a touchdown. Chris Bell with his second receiving touchdown of the day to make it an 11-point game. Malachi Toney, Ryan mentioned him earlier, the superstar young freshman. He had a rushing touchdown, and then he threw the touchdown pass on the 2-point conversion. They went crazy with their that play. I don't know what they were doing, but with 7.5 minutes to go, they brought it down to a 3-point game. But then Carson Beck threw his 4th pick of the day, which ruined it. Louisville were able to see the game out. And again, Miami, all these high-star, flashy recruits, all these good wins, you finally think they're about to break the ceiling as to what it is, and then they just lay an egg like this. 4 interceptions from Carson Beck, just backbreakers, turning the ball over constantly. They lost the turnover battle, -2, -10 in turnover luck points. That's what decided this game. He was seeing ghosts. They couldn't get anything going, and they lose from the number 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to win the ACC this year. That's the only thing I've really kind of got from that this year. But there's the Carson Beck I love and know. Like I say, threw 12 picks last year, and that's how you bury your Heisman chances in one 60-minute swoop. Like I say, if you watch the picks, they were dreadful decisions. Like I say, he was flustered. He was trying to make things happen that weren't there. The TJ Capers interception is an unreal defensive play as they were trying to tie the game, getting a field goal range. Like I say, that kind of play was one that might be the play that gets Louisville to an ACC championship, because it was tremendous, the one-handed catch turning. But yeah, Beck had a terrible day. But there were a lot more issues than, like I say, just turns. Like I say, they're in absolutely no run game whatsoever. The Louisville defensive front just absolutely swallowed up the Hurricanes. Like I say, it was absolutely brutal. They mauled them in the trenches on the day. It was a fantastic performance for them. But yeah, Louisville very sound. Like I say, complimentary offense. Isaac Brown had a tremendous day on the ground, become a very dangerous threat in the ACC. Miller Moss comfortable. Chris Bell doing what he did, dominating, becoming one of people's favourite names in the draft right now. And yeah, just one of those games where nothing went right for Miami, and in the end Louisville were very worthy winners. Yeah, another big wrench or spanner thrown into the ACC again.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to give props to the Louisville offensive line. Messidor and Bain were passengers this game. They've been one of the most destructive duos all season. I think they registered like 3 pressures between them, 3 genuine ones that were like hits and stuff like that. They got nothing from their star playmakers, but obviously when you turn it over 4 times, you get short fields. You kind of...
You put them in bad positions. They were all turnovers.
Yeah, and then when you got Isaac Brown there and you can run the football with him in short field situations, you're just asking for a hiding to nothing. But yeah, that Miami have blown a big chance. Obviously, playoffs are still on for them. The ACC is still on for them, but they have blown a massive opportunity to go unbeaten and to get a potential top 4 seed in there. Very, very, very disappointing.
I've seen people mention why is Jeff Braun not being linked with the big vacancies. And it's a fair question. He's done an incredibly good job with the Louisville Cardinals. Like I say, he's a very experienced guy. I think he's probably someone that should gain consideration for some of them.
Should do indeed. Yeah, like I say, we were talking about underrated teams maybe going under the radar. Louisville will be in that conversation for sure. In terms of the other teams that lost, one of the probably the biggest outside of that, the big money men of Texas Tech. We wondered when they would meet their match, if someone would be able to beat them this year, given how good they've been and how dominant they've been. And they were coming to the home of the Arizona State Sun Devils, the reigning Big 12 champions, who've had a little bit of an up and down season so far. No Sam Levitt in there for a few games. It's not been what it was, but big game Levitt was back for this one. Texas Tech were favoured by 9 on the road. Not many people expected the Sun Devils to win, no more so than our own resident Sun Devil here. But win is what they did. Arizona State 26, Texas Tech 22. And this game it had probably the craziest last 3 minutes of a game you will see all season, but Arizona State's defense was amazing to start this game. Texas's drive chart to start this game: punt 3 plays 6 yards, punt 4 plays 25 yards, punt 3 plays 8 yards, punt 3 plays 5 yards, 9 plays 32 yards turned over on downs. That was their first 5 drives of the game before they eventually got their first touchdown with 6 minutes left in the second quarter. But by that point, Arizona State had got 2 field goals. Jesus Gomez, the left-footed kicker, and it's the weirdest action I've ever seen in my life. It looks like he's going to miss it every time he hits it, but he was nails. But yeah, Will Hammond had a pass to Coy Aiken from 30 yards out, which was an absolutely tremendous throw from him to put Texas Tech 1 up. But then Arizona State fought back, got a third field goal. Gomez hits it from 26 this time. So they're going at the half 9-7. Arizona State were completely useless in the red zone in terms of getting touchdowns, but the kicker came through nails. In terms of the third quarter, again, their defense comes up big. They punt after the half, but interception time, first of 2, I think it was thrown by Hammond on the day, but turnover finally from the Arizona State defense, and they go on to get their touchdown. It's not easy. It's 7 plays. It's 21 yards. But Jordan Tyson, the star receiver for Arizona State, gets his first from Levitt. And Levitt, to be fair, he took some big hits in this game. He was hella brave to go up 16-7. Then Gomez hits another 28-yard field goal to put them up 19-7 as Arizona State again stalled in the red zone. And that was the way the game stayed until just under 4 minutes of the fourth quarter to go. Texas Tech got 1 touchdown back. Will Hammond had a touchdown run from a yard out to make it 19-14. Arizona State then go 3 and out, but then on the punt, it is one of the worst punts you'll ever see in your life. Gets to about the 50, dribbles there. It's returned down to the 15. And Will Hammond finds Reggie Virgil, who will have one of the best catches you will see this weekend. He catches the thing right on the edge of the end zone. He toe taps in twice at a really impossible angle. He only needs 1 foot, but he gets both of them in. And it's 22-19 with less than 2 minutes to go. And on the click of a finger, Texas Tech absolutely flipped this one on its head. And you think that just as everything's running out for Arizona State, there's a 4th and 2. Huge completion to Jordan Tyson. I mean, it was a great play from Sam Levitt. You thought he was dead in the sights. He avoided a couple of tackles, found Tyson, huge completion, and they're able to get all the way down to the 1 with 34 seconds left. And Ridley Brown runs it in from a yard out to give Arizona State the lead. And they end up, I think, picking off Hammond to rule the game out. And your Sun Devils, Rye, they're the ones who take down Texas Tech in what is one of the best defensive performances you will see against Texas Tech all year, apart from that 2-minute, drive where they kind of went mental. And that wasn't really on the defense. The punting was useless and they were given short fields to work with. They find a way to do it. Sam Levitt, just coming back from injury, takes shot after shot after shot. I've not seen a braver performance from a QB this year. Your playmakers stand up and they get the win there. What a result for them against the previously undefeated juggernauts and the money men.
Yeah, it was a weird game. Like I say, the first half, just a straight up defensive battle. Like I say, both teams could not move the ball at all. To credit, like I say, you take out a few chunk plays from Ridley Brown, and yeah, ASU simply could not run the ball at all, and that's simply because of that Texas Tech D-line. The Texas Tech D-line did control most of the game. Like I say, they got sacks, they got tackles for losses, they stuffed the run completely. And like I say, Sam Levitt was the entire offense for most of the game. As you say, he is not shy about just taking off and running. And yeah, likes to slide, but more often than not, he's the kind of guy that dives headfirst for extra yardage. He's someone, like you say, that plays very physical and very tough. Texas Tech, I mean, if Barry Morton plays this game, I think Texas Tech wins the game. Like I say, Will Hammond was put under a lot of pressure. Like I say, there was a lot of off-target throws. There were a lot of scrambles. Like I say, there was also some bizarre play calling. I think on fourth down, like I say, late in the game, I think Texas Tech calls a screenplay that gets absolutely blown up, which is one of the horrendous decisions. Like I say, and was a big way to them losing. But yeah, the Arizona State defense, probably the best they'll play all year. Their secondary is outstanding. Like I say, they had an absolutely fantastic job marshalling and passing offense. But yeah, one of those games where they were so in control. And then, like I say, the first bad punt is tipped. Like I say, that leads to then great field position for them to score, to fall behind. And then the second one shanks it, kicks it all wrong, bounces to the 50, and returns it, like I say, all the way to the 10. And then they punch it in. Like I say, I think it was, like I say, there was like a 12-point lead with like 3.5 minutes to go. And then, like I say, within like 80 seconds or something crazy, like I say, Texas Tech suddenly had the lead. And it was pretty insane. And at that point, you think they're cooked. But I'm not going to can't glaze over the fact that they missed, like say, a huge call. Like say, Arizona State receiver lined up offside on like a 45-yard completion, and the flag that was thrown originally was picked up and it was allowed to carry on. I understand why the Red Raiders fans are upset because it was a game-changing play. But ultimately, they went into like a soft coverage on that final drive, and Sam Levitt just did a wonderful job of picking them off and, like say, maximising the sideline and the stoppages. And yeah, a gutsy performance, an incredible performance from Levitt, the defence, and Kenny just shows that when, like say, the nerves and things get tight, he's an incredible game manager with excellent clock management. And yeah, their season stays alive. They lose that game, any hopes of a Big 12 defence is over.
Yeah, and it was finally the time where Jordan Tyson could raise his voice again. It feels like there's been a lot of chatter about guys like Carnell Tate and Makai Lemon been wide receiver one in this draft, but 10 catches for him in this, again, critical one on fourth down on that leading drive, and Raleek Brown, that winning touchdown. He's almost getting stood up on the line. Who's the guy who basically grabs his shirt and throws him over the line? Jordan Tyson. The guy doesn't just do receiving, he does the dirty stuff. He's in there blocking. Like, he reasserted his credentials as being the receiver in this draft because he was clutch as nails when the team needed him to be.
Yep, and he played hurt again. Another game where now he's, I think he's doubtful for Sunday.
Is his hamstring celebration, was that actually real? I thought he was faking it. He was clutching his...
He did miss, he came off the drive before, after pulling his hamstring in the end zone.
I thought that was fake. I thought he was faking it like that was real.
Yeah.
Oh God.
He was mocking it, but he was hurt.
And yet
he hurt his hamstring. Like I say, now they're wondering if he'll go on Sunday, not against Houston.
And yet he goes for 10 catches, 106 yards and a touchdown, and he's blocking in the fourth quarter to help his team win.
He's a guy that just, like I say, puts himself over, like I say, and they did pay the price. Like I say, Prince Dorber, their leading sack guy with 4 sacks in a year, he got injured early in the first half. So the Sun Devils paid a physical price for their brand of football.
Tyson feels like the receiver version of Scatterboo, doesn't he? Like, he's just run himself into a brick wall repeatedly again and again and again and won't take no for an answer.
There's a reason, like say, you see him going to like the Dolphins and like say the Giants in the draft at like 4 and 5.
Oh, they need it. They need that grit, don't they?
He's physical. He plays through pain.
He does, absolutely. On the other side, you get to see a guy, Reggie Virgil. That was a great touchdown catch from him. You know, obviously he's not got his leading quarterback there, but he's also, you saw that bit you love about him. Like, he toe-tapped twice.
It was one of those where it's not OPI, but it's just the fact he was very physical line of scrimmage and bought himself some yards. Like, it was a big play for him when he needed it the most.
Absolutely, and give credit to your offensive line as well. Bailey got 2 sacks in like the first 3 minutes, and you're thinking, "Oh bloody hell!"
Half, like say, in the second half, they literally gave up nothing.
No, Romello Height, all these guys, Lee Hunter, they've got so much on that team, and they kept them quiet. So, yeah, great result for Arizona State there. Keeps there alive, and now they're ranked
And
again.
proves though that, like say, for a money team, you can't just put any quarterback in.
No.
Like Will Hammond, he struggled immensely.
And you got no
And
Taj Brooks
I'm
either,
pretty
have
sure
you?
he was a 4 or a 5-star recruit. I think he was a high-star recruit.
Yeah, and you got no Taj Brooks either. You've lost your main running
No.
back, so
Like I say, I'm pretty sure Dickey had like 230 rushing yards like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, yeah.
And then we just, like say, completely shut down their run game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there's so much talent on there on that Texas team, and for them to beat them, they're ranked 24 now. So Arizona State are back in the shout for the Big 12. The other two ones we had, Nebraska at number 25. We called fraud alert on these guys from as early as you possibly could. You knew they were going to absolutely, get the bed at some point in regards to them. Number 25 on the road against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and to say Minnesota wrecked them, and I mean completely and utterly wrecked them, would be an understatement. 24-6. Minnesota had 9 sacks on the day. It is the most sacks the Golden Gophers have had in a game since sack stats were recorded in 1977 for the first time. They were over Dylan Raiola like he owed them money. Dylan Raiola now has a restraining order against every man on that Minnesota defensive line. Such was the punishment he took in this game. And what was a miracle, there were no turnovers in this game at all, apart from turnovers on downs. But 24-6 win. Nebraska had absolutely nothing. Less than 100 yards rushing. Raiola had only 173 passing yards. He was 16 of 24. He was throwing at 60% there, but he was just under pressure all game. Drake Lindsey was hyper efficient, 16 of 20, 151 yards and a touchdown. And we saw the real Darius Taylor again, which was good for him. 24 carries, 150 yards and a touchdown. Lindsey had a rushing touchdown as well. But we know Nebraska are frauds, right? This whole Matt Rule been a great coach thing is just an absolute lie. Minnesota destroyed them. And it's that defensive line. Anthony Smith, 2.5 sacks. Their other edge, 2.5 sacks. One of the D tackles had 2 sacks. Trench warfare at its best. That's what Minnesota do, and they wrecked Nebraska.
Yeah, it was a fantastic performance. Like I say, the D line was tremendous. The linebackers in Baranovsky and that were, like I say, backing them up as that second core level. They were absolutely ferocious. Like I say, Drake Lindsey, 16 and 20. The guy didn't put a foot wrong all day. Like you say, he got very few chances to drop back and actually pass, but they didn't need him to. As you say, a prime Darius Taylor performance. On the other side, Raiola got nothing cooking. Like you say, the DBs at Minnesota, like I say, were like glue all over his guys. It couldn't get much going in the run game. Pretty stagnant offensive line that stopped them running the ball. And yeah, Nebraska defense couldn't catch cold. Like I say, they really did offer very little in support. This was about as one-sided as you'll see all year. And yeah, not a good look for Rule. Like I say, that looks like he's basically been gift-wrapped the Penn State job. And like I say, they come out and pull this, really odd.
Yeah, and it was just a demolition. I mean, as I say, Anthony Smith, 2.5 sacks on the day for him. But they've already got their replacement for him, Carter Menz. So he's a redshirt freshman, I believe, this year. Or he may have transferred, I'm not sure, but it's his first year as a starter. He only played 23 snaps for Minnesota last year. 3 sacks for him on the day. They worked in tandem. He's 6'5", 240, so he's got the size and the frame. He's an absolute wrecker. Then you've got Jackson Howard, the other outside linebacker, 2 sacks for him as well. And then they just locked down when it came in terms of receptions. They gave up quite a few, but they gave up no yardage with it. They were just efficient all over. But I think Anthony Smith, this round 1, round 2 record that Minnesota have is going to continue. He looks every bit as destructive as we thought he would be, and he's starting to really click into gear now.
Yeah, like you say, he's big, he's long, he's got bend, he's got power, he's got speed. Like you say, he really has got like the whole package when you look at him on paper and he passes the eye test. Having a fantastic year. Like I say, he's well built. He's very good in the run game too. Like I say, he's versatile. He does the dirty work when he needs to be. I think someone's potentially going to get a steal on day 2 of the draft this year.
Absolutely. He's at 9 sacks on the year so far. He could probably be posting near 20 this season by the time that he's done. It's already the most he's got in a career. He only had 6 last year. Like, the sack stuff was what people wondered about this year. 6'6", 285. He can defend the run. Can he get to the passer very often? Well, 9 sacks through 7 games says yes, he can do. So I think he's going to go high in this year's draft. Nebraska, I don't think there was anything good to say about that team whatsoever.
No.
I can't think of
a rotten performance.
I can't think of a single player on that team who did anything of any note. There's no, and their offensive line's just cheeks. You can't give up 10 sacks in a game, or 9 sacks in a game. It's just not sustainable.
They don't fix that O-line. Dylan Rail is not sticking around.
Oh God, no! He's not going to take punishment like that.
I hold out hope for a guy I think still presumably talented. I think, like say, you put him behind, like say, the dream line. Like say, he probably plays the best football he can.
Oh yeah, I think 100% he does. He does a lot better than he's doing there at the minute. Like,
he'll be definitely watching what Matt Rule does.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah, you just absolutely cannot do what you're doing with him. It's absolutely terrible. But anywho, we move it on. And the other ranked team, the 9th one that fell this week, and one of the surprising ones, but maybe a more light-hearted story around here. Number 22, Memphis, on the road to UAB, who just fired Trent Dilfer for being absolutely useless as a head coach. An interim head coach, Alex Mortensen, son of the late ESPN presenter Chris, who would have absolutely loved to see this, but his Blazers team upset Memphis 31-24 against a Memphis team that before this looked like an absolute juggernaut and was going to be one of the front runners for the American, and they still might well be, but their perfect start to the season was stopped. And I mean, this UAB came so close to blowing this. Memphis, I can't remember exactly what happened at the end of the game, but Memphis should have tied this up and they weren't able to. But UAB showing such heart to come through this 31-24. Ryder Burton, the young quarterback, threw for 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. They had a 100-yard rusher in Solomon Beebe, and on only 5 carries as well. Everson Hooks had 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. On Memphis' side, They struggled in this one. There was an injury to Brendan Lewis, the Nevada transfer, who started this season absolutely on fire. So they had to bring up the back in AJ Hill. He threw a pick, and they just weren't able to really get going. But a real big feel-good story here, right, for Alex Mortensen, and a UAB program that's been through a lot. But his first win against one of the best teams in the conference, like, you can't ask for much better than that.
No, that is like the dream interim debut, coming up against, like I say, the front runner for the playoff, favourite, like I say, potential for some people on American, and they were a strong ranked team. And you overlook, like I say, obviously it's not good till you start quarterback to injury, but that doesn't take away anything from the Blazers' performance of how well they did on offense. They had an outstanding rushing day, a lead receiver, and a quarterback that did very well. And in the end, they were able to out-duel a team that had everything on the line, and the Blazers were probably completely written off before the game even kicked off. So good for them, and good start for Mortensen if he wants the job.
Absolutely,
it makes the game this weekend now even more important. I think it's the biggest game in the country this weekend.
Oh, have they got this weekend?
Memphis.
Oh, Memphis have got South Florida.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest games in the country.
Yep, it is.
The loser of that is goodbye to the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Memphis upset by UAB. So that is 9 ranked teams that fell. However, there were 4 other teams who were ranked who should be thanking the hair on their chinny chin chin that they are not on the list this week. There were some nearly major upsets, and one of the biggest surprise stories in recent weeks, Rye, Washington State are a team that no one should be wanting to play at this moment in time. They nearly upset Ole Miss last week, and then they're coming up against Virginia on the road this week. They're 17-point underdogs, and yet they dominated the vast majority of this game. They just looked so good. Eckhouse is looking great at quarterback. Joshua Meredith had a receiving touchdown to start it for them. Cam Ross had a rushing touchdown for Virginia to bring it back level, but then Washington State took a 20-10 lead going towards the end of the third quarter. Xavier Eckhouse had a touchdown run, then they were exchanging field goals. But then they managed to wean their way back into it. 9 minutes left. Harrison Whaley had a touchdown run to bring it back to 20-17. Then they had a field goal with 3 minutes left to bring it back to 20-all. And then one of the most baffling calls all season, really.
The weirdest players I've ever seen.
There's a kick back to Washington State, and there's two of them back to receive it, but the wrong guy signals a fair catch on it, which I believe it's penalty, isn't it? Which puts it at the spot of the foul, which then puts Washington State right by their own end zone in a really bad position, and Virginia from that are able to force a safety. Kirby Voorhees got stuffed for a loss on his run, which eventually means Virginia won out 22-20 winners. One of the weirdest decisions ever. I mean, on one side, Washington State are playing really well at the minute. You take Ole Miss and Virginia to the wire in both games, but it's just a stupid call, loses it, and they are going to be kicking themselves because they could have had one of these two wins in these last 2 weeks, and instead, no wins at all. But Virginia are lucky bunnies.
Yeah, very lucky, like you say. Yeah. A lot of people had to look up the rule. Yeah, so like I say, not a penalty, but the fact a lot of people didn't realise is, like I say, that if anyone calls for a fair catch, it cannot be returned. I like to say the fact that he calls for a fair catch because he thinks he's not going to return it from the one, but then do I blame the returner for not having the vision of his field, seeing that it's called a fair catch and letting it bounce into the end zone? I mean, they're both 50-50 equally at fault, but as you say, it's turned into one of the most hilarious and heartbreaking plays of the year, because then, like I say, you're backed up on the one. Like I say, in a game that's potentially going overtime, or at least, like I say, you're going to be able to punt it out, and then you concede the safety, and that's all she wrote. Virginia will not get luckier all year by, like I say, just a huge blunder. Like I say, in Washington State for them sucks, because you saw in recent weeks, they've been showing, like I say, that they've been putting together some very competent offense and things. But like I say, these small minor things are the thing that's holding them back, and the reason they don't have a winning record right now.
Yeah, it's a shame for them, but they've shown, at least more so than Oregon State, that they are still competitive outside the confines of the pack.
Oregon State are a disaster.
Yeah, at least, and they've got a bona fide quarterback. Levy Eckhouse looks really good. So there's something there for them to work with going back into the pack. But yeah, Virginia.
Miami's loss with Virginia's gain, and like I said, I don't think they cared about the performance at all.
No, a win is a win right now in the ACC,
and they are firmly, like I say, in the playoff and ACC title race, no matter how tough they've made it this year.
Yeah. Mal Marker goes, it's a bummer for the Cougars. It was. Brent DeWitt goes, shout out Cougars. Watch Jason Hansen's career. Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
Overtime loss to Virginia and Louisville, that could be really big end of season.
It could be.
That's a big tiebreaker that Virginia have now got.
It is, absolutely, 100%. In teams who deserve to win the least out of all of these and absolutely should not have won, Texas, the Longhorns, the veritable fortress which is Kroger Field, facing the completely useless Kentucky Wildcats in what is probably a good candidate for the worst game you will watch this season, and it could be an Iowa game. This is how bad it was. Texas wins 16-13 in overtime. Mason Shipley had to ping in a 45-yard field goal to put Kentucky away, and Kentucky seem to do this. They seem to have this one game a year that they win, which no one expects them to, and then they have this one game a year which they really scare some team that should have no problem against them whatsoever. But for Texas, this was disgusting. They had 179 total yards of offense against Kentucky. That was it, and they let Kentucky hang around. Kentucky just look as useless as ever when it comes to their offense. It's a bad team. Stoops needs firing tomorrow, but I mean, Texas are just bad this year, right? They cannot run the football. Their quarterback is getting put under all sorts of pressure, and he's not responding well to it at all. And, I mean, this was just pure ugliness in its most ugly form.
Yeah, and what's funny is I feel bad for the Kentucky fans because, like I say, Cote Bowley he played a tremendous game. Like I say, this kid, a true freshman, like I said, it's been thrown into starter because, like I say, they've benched their dreadful transfer QB. Like I say, injuries as well. Like I say, this kid was never meant to start, and thrown in against, like I say, a lethal Texas defense, which absolutely peppered him all game. They beat the snot out of the kid, and he still hung in there to complete over 30 passes and be the leading rusher. Shows a lot of heart. I think that kid might have a really bright future. But as you say, it can't be under Stoops. He's got to go. You've got to bring in someone competent if Kentucky is not gonna screw up another quarterback, or Ball is gonna end up, like say, getting fed up and leaving, then they need to make a change. But yeah, Texas, it's putrid, isn't it? Like say, Manning, anemic, useless. Wisner, Clark, no run game. Pass game suffers. The receivers suffer because Manning can't get it out, and they've had to rely on, like I say, defensive domination. Like I say, led by Colin Simmons, their star pass rusher, that, like I say, got very acquainted with Bowley on the day, and in the end, it was a defense and special teams that could just simply had to bail them out.
I mean,
5-2 has never looked so bad. I cannot believe how Texas are 5-2.
It's fraudulent. It's fraudulent.
You take away that shellacking of Sam Houston, 55-0. This is such a bad team, and their stats are terrible.
So, statistically in this game, Kentucky had 402 yards of offense. Texas had 177. They had literally 2.5 times the amount of offense, and they still lost. I don't know how you outgain someone 400 to 170 and lose. Texas 70 yards on the ground. That's it. Kentucky had 160. It was turnovers. One turnover for for Kentucky. They lost it by -1, the turnover margin. It's only 1 point, but it still equates to the most of that lead. It's disgusting. Arch 11 of 25. I've not looked his stats. His stats this year must be horrendous in terms of his completion percentage and something. Let me just have a look, see what he's actually at. Because it feels every week like he's down and around 50%. He is 100 he's throwing at 60% this year. But he's got 3 games sub 53% completion. I mean, it's just not good enough at all. He's got 1 game over 300 yards against Sam Houston.
Yeah, like you say, take out that game that heavily flows the stats. Like you say, it's a terrible year. Like you say, though, Manning, he's crumbled. Like you say, it's just everything that could have gone wrong this year has gone wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing finally that Colin Simmons showed out at last, like he had his best game of this year by far. Like it feels like we've been waiting to get the best of him. What was it? 3 sacks and a forced fumble. Probably the reason that they won the game was Colin Simmons. Like, you know, he's at least shown his, you know, his importance to this team again. But it was absolutely disgusting, and Texas should have lost. In terms of other teams who got really lucky, it was mainly in the SEC. Missouri were very lucky in their game. They were playing against Auburn, and they only won 23-17 in a game which had to go to overtime. It went to double overtime in the end, and eventually Missouri were able to get the touchdown that won it for them. But we're seeing real Bo Pribula now, Ryan. Another 2 picks from him this week. Yes, 23 of 40, but he's getting tested now against better teams. Like, they've had a bit of a scrub schedule to start. Last week he did not look good. This week he's still looking poor. He's making bad decisions. Teams are starting to cage Ahmad Hardy up now. I know he had 2 rushing touchdowns, but he was going at like 2.5 yards per carry. Teams seem to have figured Missouri out now, and the only reason they won this is literally because they were playing Auburn. Any half-decent SEC team, they would probably have lost this.
Yeah, it was it was one of those games where it kind of felt like after enough tape, it felt like someone will slow down the mad. Like I said, they'll find a way to nullify him. Like I say, he got two rushing touchdowns, but get holding him to 2.4 average. Like I say, it's tremendous work from the Auburn defense and the Auburn defensive coordinator. Pribula, yeah, he stunk. He was terrible. Like I say, it was not good performance from him a day at all. Like I say, he put them in bad positions multiple times. And I mean, I see kind of now, like I say, why he had to wait so long to see at Penn State. Like I say, it was not the option to take them forward. And Auburn will be kicking themselves for not winning this game. Like I
Mm.
say, Cam Coleman had a great game. Jeremiah Cobb, like I say, Jackson Arnold did enough. Like I say, and then their defense was tremendous. Like these are not games you should be losing. But ultimately, unfortunately, you never like to single a guy out, but Alex McPherson,
Yeah.
Auburn kicker, had one of the worst days on special teams of the season. And he single-handed, like say, yeah, kind of just crucified them and let Missouri off time and time again.
And he's been nails. Like, he was one of the best kickers in the nation at one point.
Like I said, he left 9 points out there, and how many did he lose by? Six.
Mm. Just by a touchdown. Like, it's, it's crazy. These games are so close.
I really like that they didn't. They did not deserve to win that game at all.
No. But I mean,
Sometimes that's the sign, like say, when you know you're not at your best, and like say you're not the better team.
no,
No
absolutely.
one like that, and you just yeah, you forget it and move on. 6-1, fantastic position to be in. Everyone's allowed a bad week.
Yeah, and that kind of puts the pressure on Hugh Freeze as well because should have won, not won. His seat's getting very hot now.
Been a lot of people like say look like they're calling for time on him.
Yes, they do indeed. And then the other one that went close in the SEC, Texas A&M. They're another team who were waiting to screw it up. They will do eventually. They always do. There's no way Texas A&M go through this season without some form of silly loss, but just couldn't put away Arkansas. They won 45-42 at home, and this very much feels right. Like when they do screw it up, it's going to be the defense that screws it up for them because, like in so many previous years, it always seems to be the defense that's kind of been good for them, but it seems to have swapped now. Marcel Reed continues to be amazing. Like, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC right now, scoring points again and again and again. But Arkansas were very competitive in this game, and they've got a big game against Auburn this week. But Tamu showing why people know they're frail, but they just escaped with a win. Arkansas didn't have time to score again, which is why they won this. But it was just, again, another possible upset here.
Yeah, like I say, it's weird, like I say, how frisky Arkansas have looked since firing their coach and putting in their interim. Like I say, in the recent weeks, they have really found a spark, haven't they?
Yeah,
Like 31 against Tennessee. Now you drop 42 on an AM defense that's one of the best in the country. So we have that term in football over here, don't we? Like I say, that new manager bounce.
yeah,
Like I say, it is a real thing. Like I say, even if the team's not performing, you go out there to like show the new boss that you can do it. And this one turned into, like I say, a pretty chaotic game. The Aggies can find themselves incredibly lucky to come out of this one because, like I say, Arkansas put together a huge offensive day, and like I say, they really were blistering whenever they touched the football.
yeah,
The A&M, like I say, responded with everything they've had. Marcel Reed played a great game. Like I say, it really was for the neutrals, probably one of the best games in the country of the entire week. Like
yes,
I
it
say,
was.
Razorbacks, they definitely seem closer than they are further away.
Yeah,
Like I say, they've got the guy in the centre, like I say, the new head coach. You really do want to try convince Taylor Green to stay because you do see there's a lot of talent with him.
yeah. And you've got your home game against Auburn this week. You could put the dent in Hugh Freeze's career. You could set that program back a lot. So you want to win that now that you've had a couple of good games.
If
This
I'm
is,
looking for, like I say, jobs vacancy, I'd be very interested in the Arkansas vacancy.
I do. I think Taylor Green's secretly having a decent year. We know he's good. I think he's just not shown it fully, but he's got a big target in Omega Blake. He looks good. They've got a good running game. So Arkansas could be a team to avoid down the stretch. But yeah, Tamu nearly got away with that. So that's 13 teams who lost or nearly lost in the ranked fixtures. I want to shout out the few teams who had a pretty uneventful week. Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Georgia Tech, Oklahoma, South Florida, and Cincinnati. Well done to you for being ranked teams who acted like ranked teams. The rest of you, very, very disappointing. A couple of other games I wanted to focus in on before we do the full roundup. There are a lot of coaches who are going to be fired soon, Rye, and maybe none more so. Florida have just let theirs go. It cannot be long, and I know they said they've backed him, but Florida State, they lost to Stanford 20-13. They lost to Stanford, to the Cardinal who couldn't even beat Hawaii, and I say that with respect to Hawaii. But Stanford might be the worst team in the entirety of the ACC, maybe barring UNC right now. They're not good. They've not looked good all season, and yet Florida State got into a hole against them they never got out of. That win against Alabama, it feels like a decade ago at this point. This team is just as bad as it was last year. Maybe it's got a little bit of a better quarterback, and maybe they did get screwed out of this one late on. Castellanos probably should have had a touchdown towards the end, which was questionably ruled off. But I mean, it's not like they deserved to win. They were just atrocious, and it looks like Norvell's reign is coming to an end. If not now, I think they'll pull the plug at the end of the year because the program's dead.
Yeah, like I say, we got that news on Monday that they're having, like I say, internal discussions, and then they've kind of like, it feels like they're kicking the can down the line. I think we all know it's going to happen at some point at the season's end. Like I say, I'm not entirely sure what they're waiting for.
Over 400 days since they won an ACC game.
Yeah.
The players are joking.
1-11 in his last 12 ACC games, which is the reason he's got to go. Like I say, it just feels like, what, just give him more ACC games?
The players are joking that they're going to have a bounce back, but how can Mike Norvell say that to have a bounce back, you've got to have a setback? But all they do is have setbacks. You can't bounce back if you never stop having setbacks. And this is Stanford. You've got Wake Forest next. It feels like, because Wake Forest aren't, let's be honest, are not the best team either. You've got to feel if they lose that as well, then all this talk about keeping him there is just, they can't surely. They're going to lose. They've got their first 5-star recruit coming next year in years. They're going to lose all these guys if they let this toxicity carry on.
Yeah, like I say, you've got to look at the bigger picture, haven't you, these things? Like I say, you've got to look at the players and the recruits. Like I said, who's been convinced to stay? Are they here for the coach? They're here for the team? Like I say, what were their motivations? Were they committed? It's going to be very interesting to see how it happens. But if you're seriously in doubt, and if it's actually, like I say, you're just biding time, going to fire him anyway, like I say, just pull the plaster off.
Yeah.
Just do it now so everyone knows where they stand.
Yeah. Indeed, it's going to do them more damage than good here, but they got twonked. And another one who's got to be on life support now, Boston College, wrecked by UConn 38-23. They're 1-6 on the year. Bill O'Brien has done nothing for the Eagles, and their fall from grace has been tremendous. Probably on par with the UConn going in the other direction. UConn are 5-2 again this year. Fagnano is having a tremendous year. Skylar Bell is one of the most underrated receivers in the country. Like, this UConn team's full of playmakers going in the right direction, but Boston College are pretty much hit rock bottom about now.
Yeah, I'd say it's another one. What are you waiting for? He's not the guy. He's taken the program backwards. It's in a terrible place. On paper, I'd say, look back now, probably a mistake of a hire. Like I say, can be a great coordinator, great player guy, good coach, but maybe he's just never going to be head coach material. So just accept he made a mistake, do it now, at least while there's chances out there to, like I say, put a good interim in or scour, like I say, see who's available.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get running through these scores so we can get on to other bits. Other scores from last week. Liberty beat New Mexico State, Arkansas State beat South Alabama, Florida International beat Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State beat Delaware, UTEP beat Sam Houston, who's still not won this year, East Carolina beat Tulsa, Utah State beat San Jose State. California snuck out a win against UNC, who are still winless in the ACC. Georgia Tech, we stop here, 27-18 winners over Duke. We had Duke winning that game, but Georgia Tech, I mean, they're made of stones. Duke looked like they were going to score first in this one, then they fumble it on the 1 yard line, gets returned for 99 yards for a touchdown, and I mean, you've got to start saying Georgia Tech look legit now, Rye. They're winning week in, week out, and they've just won against a very good Duke team who were on a roll.
Yeah, like I say, they're legit. Their early season wasn't all, like I say, for sure. They're a serious contender now, and it's also time to accept that Haynes King is a Heisman potential winning quarterback. Like I say, he does it on the ground, most importantly, but he also does it through the air. He's keeping it clean. And right now, like I say, he's one of the most efficient guys under center in the country.
Exactly. And I mean,
Mensa wasn't... There's a reason why I say that if you're a head coach out there, you should be looking to hire Brent Key.
Yeah, he's another, like, Louisville's head coach, like Brome. Like, some of these ACC guys feel like they should be at bigger programs.
Yeah, I think he's someone that will get poached in this next class.
Yeah, he should be, absolutely. For Duke, nothing wrong with Darian Mensah. He had no run game to help him, so he threw 42 times. Only so much you can do in that situation. Where were we? Michigan destroyed Washington, probably the most disappointing performance of the week, Rye. Bryce Underwood's starting to look pretty good now for Michigan. But Washington, they're wearing that fraudulent tag now. They're not ready this year. The defense isn't good enough. The offense, shit the bed. Coleman, most touchdowns in the country. Doesn't matter now. We're finding out he's stat padded against bad teams. They just didn't show up in Michigan at all.
No, bad loss for the Huskies. Like I said, I had really high hopes for them. Like I said, they looked really good through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Like I say, and then it's big games, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get dominated at one Ohio State, and like you say, you play 20, and you say play Michigan, same result. Like you say, you get absolutely nullified again.
Yeah, and Michigan's defense is really turning it up. I mean, DeMond Williams went through one of the worst stretches. He was just throwing to Michigan defenders. Like, he had back-to-back ones. One was pick sixth. He looked awful. He looked very much like he is still a young quarterback learning what he's doing, but his QBR was 39. He only got sacked twice as well. It wasn't like he was under a ton of pressure all the time. Bryce looks hyper efficient though. Jordan Marshall, they haven't got their lead running back, but they've got a second running back now as well. I can see why Brent doesn't want his running back coach poached. They've got a 1-2 punch there. I mean, Michigan, they're not out of it in the... I know they lost to USC, but they're not out of it in the Big Ten. I think they could be considered a dark horse now, potentially.
Yep, 5-2, they're fairly entrenched in there. And then, like I say, you look at their end of the season. I mean, wow, next 4 games.
Yeah.
You're winning them all, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, you're definitely winning this week. There's no way you'll lose this week.
Nothing this week. Then Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland. I mean, Michigan should be looking to win them all.
I mean, Michigan should be hoping that Ohio State and these teams start taking bites out of one another. I guess the only problem
Ohio
they
State
have...
drop and Michigan win out. That, like you say, the game to end the season. Well, it could be really important.
Yeah, if Indiana if Indiana run the table now, they could stop Ohio State getting into the championship game and get in there themselves. I'm not having Indiana replaced in this scenario. Yes, Brent Cole Sullivan, the Cole Sullivan train rolls on. Pick for him. He does look really good. I must give it to him at the centre of the defence. But they look a lot more complete now. And say Bryce has been, because he's got such a good run game, he can just be efficient. That's all he needs to be. And he makes some really good plays as well. Houston beat Arizona 31-28 with a walk-off field goal. Got that one in the pick watch. That was fun. TCU took down Baylor 42-36. Too late for Josh Hoover's Heisman campaign now, right? But they're still good.
They're still fun. They're still a good team. Like you say, they're just a neutral. People like you say, they're just not serious enough.
No, they're
they play too fast and too loose. They can't win close games. They kind of have to just bombard you.
Yeah. As for Sawyer Robertson, he's throwing picks, but statistically one of the leading passers in the nation. I never thought they'd see that this year with their run game, but it's just not translated. Tulane beat Army 24-17. That was unfortunate. Tulane's winning touchdown. He bobbled it like 3 times in the end zone.
DB battered it backwards. Hit the pass and it just fell into his hands.
It's one of the most unfortunate touchdowns you will see all year, but unfortunate for the Army. But that's a big loss for them. They're 2-3 in the AAC now. They're not getting back into that. Not with how competitive the AAC is this year. Central Michigan beat Bowling Green. Miami of Ohio beat Eastern Michigan. Oklahoma destroyed South Carolina. Mateer only needed 1 week to get back to normal, right?
Yeah, like you say, it didn't take long at all, did it? Like you say, he looked much better. Like I say, I don't know what's changed in last week or not, but it must... One of them games where kind of feels like, say, it's safe to say the South Carolina season has officially fizzled out.
Yep. If Shane Beamer starts losing more, he needs to watch his seat. He needs to watch his seat, because this was a huge year for them, and they have completely underachieved. And we will go through their breakdown at some point soon. UCF, they finally got their first Big 12 win. They twonked an truly awful West Virginia team. I don't think Rich Rod's going to be at West Virginia much longer if that carries on. Kent State took a 10-0 lead against Toledo, and we would see one of the biggest shocks ever this week. But then Toledo went on to score 45 unanswered points, and yes, parity was restored. Buffalo beat UMass 28-21 on the last play of the game. UMass nearly won. That would have made me look stupid, because I had Buffalo winning the MAC this year, but they got away with that. Northwestern shut out Purdue 19-0. Troy beat Louisiana Monroe. Ohio State shut out Wisconsin. And Rye, the question is on the ticker at the bottom. How does Luke Fickell still have a job?
Answers on a postcard, please. Who knows? Who the hell knows?
You shut out. They were useless. They were worse than useless on both sides of the ball. Ohio State felt like they were playing at 30% and still looked twice as good as Wisconsin did. It was, answers on a postcard. Anyone on the chat, how has Luke Fickell still got a job? Indiana took down Michigan State 38-13. Michigan State did start all right in that one, but Indiana pulled away eventually, and they were just by far the better team. Clemson lost again to SMU 35-24. They're 3-4 on the year. They're 2-3 in the ACC, and I think they've just kind of given up on the season at this point, right? It just feels like they're playing with no urgency anymore. Whereas SMU, I mean, it's still a big win for them. They won in Death Valley. Nobody wins in Death Valley, but it feels like that fortress is not impenetrable like it was anymore.
No, I'd say a team that prided itself on ultimately being able to stop you and give its offense the ball in great field positions, that's completely dried up this year. Like I say, some of their times they just look absolutely inept. And like I say, teams can just kind of go through them as they come and go as they please, really. It's their identity is gone, their brand of football is gone. And yeah, I don't think he's under any threat now, but I feel like this off season they really need to dig deep and address some issues before 2026.
I mean, poor Christian Vizima fought for his life. Like, he had the game of his life. Like, threw 3 touchdowns over 300 yards, but no running, 50 yards running. Where's the 5-star true freshman? Why is Adam Randall still playing at this point? Like, their run game has been their undoing all season, and they're showing no signs of fixing it. Why is the 5-star true freshman not in there?
At this point, I don't understand, because he can't do any worse than the guys that are already there, let's be honest.
He got 1 carry for 3 yards.
I mean, it feels like a kind of guy that's probably just going to enter the portal.
You would, wouldn't you? You may as well just give him a go at this point and see what he can do. You know, because your season's pretty much done. There's that many winless teams that haven't lost in the ACC right now. You're going to struggle to get in the title game there. You can kiss the playoffs goodbye. You're in a rebuild year now. So Clemson, it's just all gone down. Air Force got their first Mountain West win against Wyoming. Maybe shock result of the week from us all. Boise absolutely humped UNLV 56-31, and
I thought that would have been a proper battle.
1,100 yards of offense. I mean, it was. There were over 600 yards of rushing offense in this game. There were 300-yard rushers. There was a 200-yard rusher for Boise. It's not Sayer Gaines, it's Dylan Riley who's got it there now. Maddox Madsen, a third of his completed passes were touchdowns. I mean, UNLV, we wondered. They were unbeaten. They were playing well. But Boise were favoured by 12, and you wondered why. Well, I mean, I guess this was why. Boise still have teeth.
Yeah, like I say, they showed, like I say, that they were not going to mess around and play with their food, and they went out and thoroughly dispatched one of the last unbeaten teams in the country. And like I say, brought the UNLV Rebels back down to earth with a bang, I think.
They did, and another team that got brought down with a bang, JMU, James Madison, dropped 63 on Old Dominion. James Madison and Bob Chesney, they're 6-1, they're 4-0 in the Sun Belt. It's taken a bit of time for Bob Chesney, but he seems to have that program firing on all cylinders now. Alonzo Barnett, I think, 6 total touchdowns, 4 of them were rushing. I think someone on Old Dominion said something nasty to him. But yeah, Chesney and they've got to be looked at now as a potential playoff team again.
Yeah, like you say, they're definitely in the conversation with, like say, Boise, Memphis, USF, and James Madison. I suppose they're like the four prominent teams right now.
They
like
are.
I say, they've still got a job to do. JMU just don't even need to worry about the playoffs. Just get the Sun Belt done. And like I say, you've completed the transition from SCS to FBS champion. Then it's been a long time coming. They need to hold their nerve now in the big part of the season.
They do indeed. Coastal Carolina beat Appalachian State, and Coastal Cal are 3-1 in the Sun Belt. They were useless earlier in this season. They have turned their season around very quickly. Marshall beat Texas State 40-37. This was a hell of a week in the Sun Belt. Texas State are 0-3 in the Sun Belt this year, right? Kinney's, that suddenly hit a bit of a buffer there. Kinney's been great since he arrived, but they have fallen apart this year, and they're going to the Pac next year. That's not ideal against a Marshall team that lost all its players in the off-season.
No, it's not going to do well for confidence making the transition, having such a bad year this year.
No.
I'd say they've dramatically fallen off hard.
They have indeed. Temple beat Charlotte, Ball State beat Akron, Ohio beat Northern Illinois, North Texas, fresh from their absolute walloping from South Florida this week, then went and deposited 55 on UTSA, so probably UTSA are going to whip someone's ass this week, but 55-17, Mestermaker and Co are not done yet. Florida beat Miss State, although they still lost their head coach. Southern Miss beat Louisiana. Southern Miss, Charles Huff's gone there. They're 5-2 and they're 3-0 in the Sun Belt, right? The man's a magician.
Yeah. Sometimes you've just got it. I like to say you can just go somewhere and, like you say, have an instant impact. Like you say, it's another very serious, credible threat that's come out of nowhere in the Sun Belt this year. Like you say, they're definitely not a team to sleep on late in the year.
Exactly. If there is a rushing team in the Power 4 who needs a head coach, that should be Charles Huff's next stop. Because that's 2 tremendous jobs he's done now. And yeah, 3-0. If Southern Miss win the Sun Belt this year and he gets back-to-backs with different teams, that would be something. Oregon dropped 56 on Rutgers. Penn State lost their 4th in a row, right? They lost to Iowa. But maybe let's not have a go at them, and maybe let's give Iowa some credit. And your guy, Mark Gronowski, I mean, he was more of a rusher than a passer in this game, but they picked on Ethan Grunkemeyer. Ethan Grunkemeyer does not look it for them, but Penn State, the free fall continues. 4 in a row.
Yep. And it's going to be many more. Like I say, Grunkemeyer.
It's Ohio State this week.
Grunkemeyer wasn't ready, isn't ready, and unfortunately, I feel for the kid. Yeah, just suck it up, kid, until the end of the year. It's going to get ugly.
Yep, and Katron Allen has taken the front runner to try and overcome Saquon Barkley's record there. He had 150 yards, Singleton had 15. Those two both could have broken Barkley's... Well, not broken. Barkley doesn't have the record, but he's second leading all-time rusher there. They could have been second and third as a minimum. They could have gone for number one, but looks like it's going to be Allen's thing now. But Iowa, maybe keep an eye on them. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten. They're 5-2 overall. After that loss to Iowa State, they seem to have really turned a corner this year. UCLA win again. They've beaten Maryland. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten now, which is crazy. Georgia Southern beat Georgia State. USF South Florida, 48-13 winners over Florida Atlantic. You've got to make them as favourites for the American currently. Pittsburgh destroyed Syracuse. Oregon State beat Lafayette, who are a Patriot League team, so that doesn't count for them. New Mexico beat Nevada. And to end it all right, Cincinnati, number 24, 49-17 winners over Oklahoma State. They're not going away anytime soon.
No, they're here to stay. Brendan Salisbury is the real deal, and they continue to be a pain in the side. They are a thorn in the Big 12's ass, and yeah, they're hanging on to the coattails right until the very end.
They are indeed, and that is everything from week 8. We have gone a long time, but again, when 13 top 25 teams lose or nearly lose, there is a lot to discuss and a lot that has gone on. I was going to do more in-depth stuff on the conferences, but we might have to shelve that because we've been going 2.5 hours. But we'll have a quick look at them. So this just goes alphabetically, but in the ACC, right? We've got 3 unbeaten teams. Georgia Tech at 4-0. And then we've got Virginia at 3-0 and SMU at 3-0. The top 2 teams, we were not expecting to see Georgia Tech and Virginia here at this point in the season. But Virginia, they've gone right under that radar. I watched them when they played NC State's their only loss this year. But for some reason, it was a neutral game between ACC teams. It does not count as a loss. They got lucky, but I mean, Virginia have just gone under everybody's radar this year. They're ACC contenders.
Yep, like I say, 5-0, perfect home record. Says a lot about, like I say, the fan base, the coaches and the players. Like I say, when they really do make that 12th, like I say, that 12 man, as we call it, that crowd count, and anyone going to Virginia is having a horrible time of it this year.
They are.
Like I say, Georgia Tech by now usually have started wrong and faded quick. Or I'd say they've slipped up, but right now they're still, like I say, leading their way. They're still there, and they're showing no signs right now of slowing down. All that what we come to expect them tripping themselves up, it's just not happening right now.
No, it is not. And then at the bottom, 3 winless teams: Florida State and Boston College, both 0-4, and UNC 0-2.
I mean, UNC doesn't surprise me.
No, but 2 of them former NFL coaches. That says something about the transition to college football. Bob and Bill. Oh, Bill and Bob, the flower pot men. Oh, it's Bill and Ben. Oh, it can be Bill and Bob at the bottom of the ACC. In the American, 3 unbeaten teams. Navy 4-0, but they've got the most brutal schedule to end the year. South Florida 3-0, Tulane 3-0, but then behind them you've got North Texas and Memphis both on 2-1. We said it might be the most competitive conference there is in the group of 5, and that's proven to be the case.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, realistically, when now we're in ACC play, anyone from East Carolina or up's got a chance.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, East Carolina even 2-1. It just takes for them to win 1, and like I say, South Florida or Tulane to lose 1, and you're back in play straight away. So I always look at now at conference record, not overall record, because your overall record right now, it just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Are you competitive in conference? That'll determine, like I say, we're going to have a very interesting end to the season here.
Exactly. And at the bottom, Tulsa and Charlotte are the 2 winless in conference. They are both 0-4. In the Big 12, 2 unbeaten teams in conference, both 4-0. BYU and Cincinnati. Who saw that one coming at the start of the season? Not me. You got 3 one-loss teams in Texas Tech, Houston, who have also done good things under Willie Fritz, and then Arizona State, all with 1 loss. And then you've got Utah, TCU, Iowa State, Baylor, Kansas, and Kansas State. You got 5 teams at 2-2. I mean, Big 12's shaping up to be competitive as anything again, but I don't think we'd be saying the 2 at the top would be the last ones unbeaten in conference at this point.
No, like the Cincinnati's just a total shock. Like I say, I mean, Houston, I suppose, like I say, are the real kind of surprised this year.
6-1.
She didn't think good or bad, like you say. Yeah,
Oh,
that Conor Weigman looks great.
they're,
Tara Cosio probably one of the better players there that to make the Lex moved up to the FBS. Very interesting.
yep, it is.
Huge game this year that's going to affect that conference ranking starkly.
Yes, there are going to be a lot of ones that affect it going forward because it's one of 10 teams that could win this. They're all going to be playing one another. West Virginia and Oklahoma State, both at the bottom, both look atrocious. Colorado, UCF, Arizona only got one win as well. So big teams still stuck in the mire. In the Big Ten, 2 unbeaten teams. Indiana and Ohio State both sat there at 7-0, right? I mean, it's just so good to see Indiana up there leading the conference currently. It doesn't look like they're going to lose a game again this year. They could theoretically go unbeaten. And then you got Oregon, USC, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern, and UCLA, all at 3-1.
Northwestern 3-1. That's just crazy, isn't it?
Minnesota, Northwestern, UCLA, Iowa, all in the chasing pack. The Big Ten is as open as it's ever been, but obviously it means nothing if these two at the top don't lose, and neither team looks like it's going to lose anytime soon.
No, like I say, unless those 6 teams get some help, it will all be in vain, and it won't really matter, will it?
No.
Unless someone takes out the knees of Ohio State and Indiana.
If Michigan win the game,
now, doesn't feel like anyone's gonna. Someone's going to have to take one for the team.
Yeah, but there will be playoff things at credentials here because, you could get in. Big Ten could have 4 teams in there, so those spots just afterwards, they're very much so. Yeah, Minnesota, Northwestern.
Still, but in a lot of conferences, some teams don't have a lot to play for. Everyone 3-1 there has got a huge thing to play for.
Yeah, Minnesota, Northwestern, and UCLA. Go for it, guys. You're right in the chasing pack. You are in that. The bottom is disgusting. There are 5.
Rutgers and Penn State winless in the Big Ten. That's crazy.
Yeah. 5 teams 0-4. Penn State, Rutgers, Michigan State, Purdue, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin are bottom because of their sheer... They've not even scored 100 points this year. They scored 93 offensive points in 7 games.
Scarlet Knights, Nittany Lions, and Spartans, they should be ashamed of themselves.
They should be. Absolutely. I mean, they're all 2-win teams or more.
Purdue, we expect it because Purdue are in the mire. But the other 3, there's no excuse.
No, it is disgusting. In the CUSA, I mean, guess who's top of the CUSA right now? They absolutely thwomped Florida International last night. Kennesaw State, they're 2-0. They're 4-2 overall. Fighting out there. Jacksonville State are 3-0 in conference, but then there's a whole clutch of 1-loss teams behind them, including Missouri State and co. I mean, this is still wide open. Delaware have a couple of wins. Delaware are 3-3. Missouri State are 3-3. The newbies, they're fighting hard this year. And then at the bottom,
I'd say some of them have played so few games.
Yeah.
Like Western and Kentucky have played 5 conference games already. Well, like I say, hardly anyone is anywhere near that. It's a very weird way they do this CUSA.
But the Kennesaw State are on a 4-game win streak. They started 0-2 and look useless. They've had 4 successive home games and won now. They're not to be taken lightly. They fired their head coach last year, but it's worked.
State still rolling after losing Rich Rodriguez.
Cam Cook's the leading rusher in the country.
He wasn't the team.
No, Cam Cook's the leading
best
rusher.
running back for the entire football. Yep.
Yeah, he looks amazing. Independence, Notre Dame and UConn both 5-2 on the year. Good for them. MAC, 3 unbeaten teams in conference.
8 teams that are either 3-4 or 4-3.
There are, but there's 3 unbeaten in conference. That's Miami of Ohio, Buffalo, and Western Michigan.
Western Michigan? Wow.
I have to look what's going on there, but lucky for Buffalo, because we had Buffalo winning it, so... Or I did. Did you as well? I think we both had Buffalo winning.
No, I had them in the final.
Yeah, so Buffalo are doing well. They're 4-3 overall, but they're 3-0 in conference. Northern Illinois and UMass are at the bottom. UMass have scored 79 points in 7 games. They're averaging about 11 points a game.
Michigan, like I say, I think Crate he's got to be on his way out.
The Crate train is over. That party boat has sailed. Mountain West, 2 unbeaten teams. San Diego State, 2-0. They are 5-1 on this season. Their defense has given up 73 points in 6 games. They are basing it off a ferocious defense. And Boise State are 3-0. But right behind them, third in the conference, are Hawaii at 3-1. But, I mean, San Diego State, right? One of us had them in a title game this year. One of us had San Jose. One of us had San Diego. I can't remember who was who. But dropped 40 on Nevada and Colorado State in the last couple of weeks. They had that 6-3 win against Northern Illinois, but they had that 34-0 shutout against Cal, who are a power team. They are legitimate this year, San Diego State.
Yeah, like I say, that defense is tremendous. Like I say, and they're riding it all the way, like I say, on a crest of a wave right now. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the Mountain West rely on offensive football, but if they can rely on their defense, then like I say, maybe it does give them an edge when it's going to get later in the season.
So in their last 6 games, their defense has given up 0, 0, 3, 10, 0, 0, 3 and 10 in 4 of them. So in 4 of their last 6, they've not given up more than 10 points, which is crazy. They gave up 36 to Washington State and 24 to Colorado State, but it's nails. I've not even looked at them as a team this year, so, you know, good for them. At the bottom is Nevada and Air Force. Air Force are 1-4, but Hawaii right in that conversation on a 3-game win streak. Hawaii could do it this year, 100%. In the SEC, we've got 2 unbeaten teams left, right? TAMU and Alabama. I know which one might end the season unbeaten and which one won't out of those 2.
Yeah, like I say, it's one of those where I want one of them to finish the end of the season unbeaten, but like I say, that's my heart. But my head tells me it's going to be the other one that finishes unbeaten.
Yes, indeed. I want TAMU to go unbeaten too. Georgia are right behind on 4-1. Ole Miss are 3-1. Vandy
feels like Georgia are the team to watch, doesn't it? Right, looking over their shoulder, everyone.
Yeah, Vandy, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas are all 2-1. So that Vandy Missouri game is going to be big this week. Whichever one of them goes is going to be right in the conversation for it. Whoever loses is out, effectively. The fact that Ole Miss are still in there disgusts me.
Ole Miss 3-1 just doesn't mean anything to me.
No, they've got a perfect record at home, but they've played 5 at home and 2 away, so they're going to start having a lot of road games soon. You figure they're going to be bad there. There's 4 winless teams.
This state are weird, like I say, winning record, but just useless in the SEC.
Yeah. They beat
They're
your
3-1 at home, but I say they've lost all their SEC games.
They beat your lot, and yet your lot have just gone to beat Texas Tech. It's an odd one, but yeah, 4 winless teams in the SEC: Miss State, Auburn, Kentucky, and Arkansas. Could probably have guessed that one going in. The Sun Belt, they're still conferenced. James Madison lead the East at 4-0. Everyone else has lost a game. Coastal Cal are their nearest opposition, 3-1, and Marshall are 2-1, but feels like James Madison's got that on lock. In the West, Southern... What?
A lot more competitive in the West.
Yeah, Southern Miss and Troy are 3-0. Arkansas State are 2-1. I had Arkansas State making the title game this year, so that pleases me, but that's Charles Huff territory there. Like, we could see Southern Miss versus James Madison. That would be a clash of styles, let's say, for a championship game. But the Sun Belt's uber competitive again.
Yeah, like I say, it's the only conference that still has divisions and still makes it work.
Yeah.
I suppose where everyone else kind of, like say, it was too frequent, too many times. They had a lot of, like say, the same championship game every time, but this one's better.
Absolutely, it is. Right, we need to start wrapping this up, so we need to do the pick watch for next week, and there are a lot of good things coming up, but we'll discuss it more as we always do next week. We put more into the reviews and the previews because, yeah, there's only so much time we have. And last week, pick watch upset a lot of people. Our leader was way down last week. He only won 2. Unfortunately, Rye, you went 2-8 as well. A lot of teams let you down. I went 4-6, so we need a bounce back this week. So, you know, we've got to do good here. So let's dive right down into it, and we're starting with Ole Miss. Let's see what you make of this one. Number 8 Ole Miss on the road at number 13 Oklahoma, who have John Mattia up and running again. Oklahoma favorited for this game, I believe, not by much. Obviously, Ole Miss on the road, people are not sold on. Are you going to have one last ride on the lane train, or are we going to believe in Mattia once more?
I feel like John Mattia probably with another week probably gets back to his best self. I think I'll take the Sooners.
I have taken the lane train because I need to make up some pointage, so I'm going to go with what I think might be sensible there. Number 15, Missouri at number 10, Vanderbilt. It's a known fact out there right now. We cannot just go against Vanderbilt anymore yet. Everybody's picked Mizzou this week, so people are thinking that Vandy are going to trip up over themselves. But
oh no, give me Vandy.
I believe in the Vandy train as well. I've got Vandy winning. I can see why people would think Mizzou will win. Mizzou beat them last year. I think just after the Alabama game, they put a beating down on them. But yeah, I believe in Vandy. We've got the Sunflower Classic next. Kansas State at Kansas. Kansas State had a rotten start to the year.
This is a weird one.
I've got the standings here, so I can just do this on here, which will be a lot easier. But Kansas State, they're both teams are 2-2. Kansas are 4-3. Kansas State are 3-4, but they're level in conference. Kansas has a better offense by points. It has a better defense by points given up. But no, the Sunflower is hotly contested. It's not one for the light ones. Kind of form goes out the window, but they seem quite evenly matched.
Like I said, they're both not great.
I'm going with the Jayhawks for the record. I think they're just a little bit more complete a team, right? If they could stop K-State running the ball, they should win.
I'll take the Wildcats.
Going with K-State. Alright, we are diverging on that. Next up, we've got Auburn at Arkansas. We've just spoken about this. Auburn, Euphes probably needs this to save his job, but the youngest player in the entirety of college football manning their offensive line, and they've just been so inconsistent. The offense hasn't been good. The defense has been good, but Arkansas have been dropping rain on teams they've been playing recently. Who have you got?
Give me Auburn.
I have gone Arkansas, so we are diverging a bit this week, but yeah, there we go. Number 18, South Florida, going to Memphis, who are going to be wounded. Memphis cannot afford to lose this, or they will probably be out of the American chatter with how competitive it is. This is a massive test for Golesh and the Bulls. They may be ranked, but Memphis and the Tigers, they still bite and they need a result. So, who have you got?
Give me USF. I don't think it'll be close.
I've gone for South Florida as well. They look a step above everybody this year, so I'm going to go with that one there. Next, I've got the trap game this week. The Baylor Bears on the road to Cincinnati, ranked number 21. Now, Baylor can score a lot of points on their day and can get into a shootout with anybody. And Cincinnati, every game is a banana skin now. Like for Arizona State last year, there are no easy games in the Big 12, and you can be slipped up any week, and Baylor are a team that can do it. So are you going with the trap, or do you think Cincinnati have the legs to win another one?
It's that Baylor defense. I don't trust it at all. It's not looked great in recent weeks. Give me Brendan Salisbury. Give me the Bearcats.
I am going with the Baylor upset. I just think they're going to get tripped up eventually. There's a pretty even split in this one as well, so I'm glad I put that in. The big game this week. Number 3, Texas A&M at number 20, LSU. And for LSU, win or your season's pretty much over. But for Tamu Rai, we talk about teams who trip up and you're waiting for them to trip up. This is one of the biggest tests they've got. And that defense has not been good. LSU could put up a lot of points on them here and it could devolve into a shootout. And Texas A&M just traditionally have not had the spine to get over the line is this where their unbeaten run comes to an end, or has the LSU train just completely and utterly come to a halt?
Give me the LSU upset.
I've gone for the LSU upset as well. I love Mike Elko. I want Texas A&M to succeed, but this just feels like a game that they should win. They always fumble the games they should win, and I think they're going to struggle with that. Next up, ACC. I've got Cal at Virginia Tech. Cal are 5-2 on the year. They're 2-1 in the ACC. Virginia Tech are 2-5. They're 1-2 in the ACC. But Cal don't traditionally travel well in the ACC. And Virginia Tech on their day, under Jones, are still a good team. This is maybe more of a trap one. And Sagapululu Talele, it's going to be a road test for him. They're 2-1 on the road so far. Are Virginia Tech going to slip California up, or will Cal win again?
Yeah, they struggled against Boston College, then they went to Duke and laid an egg. Give me VT upset.
See, everybody's picked Virginia Tech. Nobody believes in California, so for that reason, I'm going to take a bet and I'm going to go with Cal. I probably would have anyhow, but yeah, we will see. Ooh, we've got a fun one now, Ryan. One that we will all be staying up to watch really, really late this week. Rutgers at Purdue. We have the bottom feeders in the Big Ten. Neither of them have won a Big Ten game. And I think Elliott Manis is back, folks. The quarterback that we know and love, who's terrible, is back. Purdue, to their credit, they have been giving some teams tough tests. I know they got shut out by Northwestern this week, but Northwestern 3-1 in the Big Ten. They're a good team. They feel like they're due to upset somebody, but this is not going to be one for the purists. Who's going to win in the basement Big Ten battle?
I can't see Purdue doing it.
You're going Rutgers.
Yeah.
I'm going Rutgers too. I have to believe there's some soul left in that team. There just needs to be. And then the final one, we're not in the FBS for this one. We're going to the FCS. And of course, one of the biggest games this week, and one mile marker will probably be watching closely. It's time for the Dakota marker. Number 1 versus number 2. North Dakota State are on the road, but they're favoured by 3.5. So obviously the bookies think they're favourites regardless. I mean, you watch FCS more than me. You'll have watched these teams closely. What's your gut telling you about this week? Can the Jackrabbits pull off what would be considered an upset, or are the Bison going to separate themselves from everybody else in the country once more?
I think the Bison are going to absolutely blast SDSU. What?
Not cheating, but may I ask why for my own for my own guess?
Because the Jackrabbits defense has been very leaky. Like I say, they scraped past Montana State and Youngstown State in big games already this season, whereas ND has not given anyone any breathing room all year. I just don't see them starting doing it now.
Don't think everyone else has picked North Dakota State so far. I mean, it feels like the safe bet, so I will go with North Dakota State as well, because I've made a lot of risky picks this week, so we will go with the safe one to end it. But that is potentially going to be a fun slate. In terms of other games this week, there were a couple last night. Kennesaw State destroyed Florida International. Western Kentucky beat Louisiana Tech. If you want to see some CUSA stuff tonight, Delaware and Missouri State both in action. Delaware at home to Middle Tennessee, in which they're heavily favorited. Middle Tennessee are rubbish this year. And New Mexico State are at home to Missouri State. But in terms of ranked ones, Indiana are at home to UCLA, right? Is any part of you saying that that UCLA can pull this off? Because it's probably the team that Indiana would least like to face, maybe out of a lot of the others right now. UCLA win this, they've got the same record in conference as Indiana.
I think this is a step too far for the Bruins. I think they get put back in their lane this weekend and Indiana routs them.
In right next to one of the mile markers goes Bison's gonna rock. Brentwick goes Bison gonna roll. We're gonna rock and roll, are we, guys? They've done that one in sync. Well done to both of you. South Dakota win. We might lead off next week's show if South Dakota State win with that next year. South Carolina, Alabama are away to South Carolina. I mean, that would be funny, but no, right? Brent said somewhere, Lions. Oh, Mile Marker goes. Lions have some coaches with NDSU, right? No. Tight end coach.
Roll.
He came from Indiana State. He'd say Indiana State. He came from Iowa State. Tyler Roll did. Unless Tyler Roll was at NDSU before. He could have been. That feels like it's going to be that case.
Yeah, he's the former offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so Tyler Roll was there once upon a time. But yeah, I don't see South Carolina doing out there. Georgia Tech at home to Q's. Q's look dead and buried. Even Georgia Tech was there, but that can't be their trap game, right? No way.
No.
Q's look bad. BYU were on the road to Iowa State. That's where I feel I was thinking about putting it in this week. But I think if BYU were going to fall, I think Iowa State beat them last year. This might be where they slip up.
Nah, I can't. I just can't see that.
Okie dokes.
Just that Cyclones have just totally gone off the boil.
Texas Tech are at home to Oklahoma State. Good luck, Cowboys, because Texas Tech are going to be mad after losing. That could be 60 or 70. Virginia are on the road to UNC. Texas on the road to Miss State. Good lord, there could be some bad ones this week. Illinois are ranked again, which is disgusting. They're on the road to Washington. That could be an upset, I guess. What else have we got this week? Is there any other games you're looking at this week?
I mean, they've just got the big upset, but I mean, Arizona State are already in danger again. You got Houston.
Ooh, that could be.
3-1 in conference, like I say. It's another game where neither team can afford to lose.
Oh, go on then. Let's ask your prediction, because you always bet against them. Are you finally going to put your hat in the Arizona State corner?
No, because I think the injuries might have caught up with them. Like I say, Dorber could be out, and like I say, Tyson is banged up properly. And Conor Weigman, like I say, Houston, under like I say, the running back is Dean Connors.
Yeah. Playing
some great offensive football right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, that feels like a Cougars upset.
Yep. What other games we got? Northwestern on the road to Nebraska. Hey, they can beat them 4-1. Northwestern. That would be a story and a half.
Yeah, Northwestern should be looking to pummel Nebraska.
They should be indeed. San Diego State, they have a test of their mounting credentials. They're on the road to Fresno, but they should get about 5.
Colorado State destroyed Fresno State.
Yeah, they should get about 5 picks from E.J. Warner. So, you know, that San Diego State defense should eat E.J. Warner alive.
They're going to feast on him.
Yeah, they should eat them absolutely alive. Minnesota away at Iowa. Golden Gophers, that's a big. In fact, that's 3-1 teams.
That's a tricky one. That feels like one of those where that could be a Hawkeyes upset.
Ooh, I don't know. Wouldn't Iowa be favorited for that? Hang on, let's have a look. Iowa, Minnesota. Betting line.
I'd have Minnesota as favourites.
Oh wow! Do you want to know what the line is? Let's put it this way. The line is 9.5. And you're not thinking the right team for who's got it. That is disgusting.
Iowa.
That is disgusting. Iowa are favoured by 9.5 points against
with a running back at quarterback.
That is disgusting. I would put not a mortgage, but I would put a sizable amount of money on that. 9.5. You think that Minnesota D-line, 1, it can stop the run, and 2, it can kill your passer. You've got Coy Carp and all those secondary that can gobble up anything thrown at them. Oh, I think that's disgusting for Minnesota. Big Gophers upset there for that one. Absolutely. Hang on, where were we at? The other one, I guess we need to mention quickly. Oregon are at home to Wisconsin. That could be bets. What do you reckon? Over under 70, 80 points for Oregon in that? It's got to be.
That feels like one of them games where Oregon really struggle.
I think Wisconsin took them like nearly beat them last year. Am I remembering that
feels like one
rightly?
of those games where they're struggling. It's like 30-10 or something to Oregon, and Fickle buys himself another week.
Yeah, maybe. Miami of Florida have got Stanford at home. They should win that. Louisville have got Boston College. They should drop 60 on them. Tennessee have got to go to Kroger Field against Kentucky. That might... No, that probably can't happen. And then to end it all off right, the game. There is no way in hell Michigan State win that, right?
No. Michigan's going to beat the snot out of Aiden Childs.
Michigan State have lost their last 4 games by double digits, and they've looked pretty rotten in all of them. UCLA trashed them. Indiana trashed them. If Michigan lose that, then I don't know. But Jonathan Smith is apparently on a hot seat now, so they could expedite his release from that program.
I won't be surprised to see Nick Marsh wearing a yellow and blue helmet next year. His
brother looks better than him at the moment. Brothers play one another. Like, that's going to be...
I can see him defecting to play with his brother.
Yes, there's much more chance of Andrew having a 100-yard game than Nick. Let's just put it that way. And Andrew's, a true freshman this year, so... Yes, the Marsh brothers pay off, but I think they are going to be done. Right, that is everything for today. We've gone about 3 hours. Thank you for everyone who has been with us. As always, there's a lot to go through, but we appreciate you all being with us. Next shows, Lions are on a bye week, so there will be no preview show tomorrow. There will be a sort of thirdly season review probably on Monday or Tuesday, so join us for that to see how the Lions season has gone so far. Myself and Ryan will be back next week, obviously, with week 9 review, and we're going to need to start taking a look at the playoffs. Do the playoff rankings drop this week? Am I right? Or is it the week after?
It's very soon, yeah.
The playoff rankings should start dropping soon, so we can go through those. But we'll take a bit more of a look at the conferences and what's gone on after that, because we didn't really get a chance to look at it today. And we'll start getting into some other bits as well. As for maybe a watch along this week, as I've said, it's either probably going to be Friday for Cal and Virginia Tech, because Cal have some good draft prospects to watch. Or if I can get away, we'll do TAMU LSU on Saturday, but there will be a watch along at some point. I'm just working late this week, so it will be a late slate one instead, but we will be back for that. Mile Marker goes crazy trash. Yeah, it is crazy trash indeed. Yeah, Gophers are winning. Go Gophers. Yeah, that's everything from us. We appreciate you all. Thank you ever so much. Brent, Mile Marker, Grandizer was in the building, Lisa was in the building. Hopefully you've enjoyed this show, and we will be back with you again very soon. One Pride, and we will see you on the other end of the bye.